Okay, we're live, guys. Hello,
Hi, everyone.
everybody.
We're like in tandem.
I know.
Hello, everybody.
We got
And
Jim Terry here back to answer some questions about the Michaela Nelson case. How's everybody doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on, guys. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming on because the more I keep looking into this case, like the more I just want to know, like, I do have a question I just want to ask real quick because on my last live, I was like, I wish I would have asked him. Her dog, what was her dog left with? Where was her dog left?
Okay, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to shoot you straight. Michaela had that dog for a total of 10 days. 10 days. It was one of the first questions I asked the father. Where is this dog? By the way, there is two questions I get more than anything. Number one is, can you ping her cell phone? Number two is, where's the dog? The dog has stayed with the father continuously. And I hate to make it sound this way because I don't want to talk ill of somebody who's not found, but that dog was nothing more than a prop. That dog was used for her for about 10 days, according to the father, and has stayed with the father almost continuously. She would go to his house and get the dog, bring it to the park, do a bunch of videos, and then give it back. Because the first thing I said is, where's the dog? She loves this dog so much. Hell, she had me fooled. The dog's with the father, always has been.
Okay.
poor
Wow.
Kiki.
That answers that, guys, because we were all kind of wondering that.
Which is another interesting point because the dog actually enters itself into her missing persons case. Several interviews that I've done, she applied and tried to become and wanted to become, the reason she had that specific type of a dog, she had told a lot of people that she wanted to train police dogs in Los Angeles. I had to track down that lead as well. That was part of what the dog was. That was even out there on social media.
Oh.
One of about 25 jobs she was interested in the last 9 months, including being a Laker, applying to be a Laker girl.
So
And
you
LA
still
Fitness.
think she's okay? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Do you still think she's like left on her own accord here? Or are you still
Yeah,
with that
definitely.
opinion?
Where's the
Really?
car? Listen, anything's possible. And when I do these cases, I don't have a theory. That's the difference between what I do and other people do. If you have a theory and I say, listen, she was kidnapped and she was taken here and they put the car here, then you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. I believe, based on the information that I have, and listen, as much as I would like to sit here and give you everything up to date, there's certain things I can't tell people because in case Michaela is watching and does not want to be found, I don't want to give her my playbook. I'm not going to tell her we're running the ball to the right now, and then she knows what we're doing. So you guys are about 5 or 6 days behind where we're at, and I'll get to that. But I believe if this is a pie chart, a pie graph, there's about an 85% chance that she left on her own. Now, it's been 30 days or so. I didn't get into this case until about day 16 or 17. So she had about almost a 3-week head start on me, which is good. It's fine. So I've had people have a head start from 1979. If you look in the case, I worked with the professional wrestler Jake the Snake Roberts, whose sister, Jolynn Smith Rogers, went missing in 1979. That was a massive head start. So a couple of weeks is not bad. But the holidays coming up, things like that, it makes it difficult, but it's not an excuse. So she had a couple of weeks head start on me, and doesn't mean that she didn't leave on her own and then something bad happened. She could have left on her own 10 days prior to me ever taking this case, drove off the road, went into a lake. Doesn't mean that she was taken. Doesn't mean that that's how the trip started out. You never know. So there could have been several things that have happened to her in the last 30 days that have made this thing go up and down. But I believe there's about an 85% chance that she left on her own. There was no foul play involved, and that she took that vehicle and wanted to start a new life, maybe went and stayed with somebody and then went AWOL and took it too far. Or maybe she met with some other fate. There was a case I worked with a boy named Zachary Lee Brewer, and I use this all the time. Zachary Lee Brewer went missing about 16, 17 years ago. Good-looking kid. He was being molested by his youth coach. And he had to stand trial against the guy who was like a father figure to him. And Aguilar was from Mexico. So Aguilar, who was going to do time in jail, told him, go down and stay with my family in Mexico. This 17-year-old boy went down to Mexico. And Zachary Lee Brewer from Boise, Idaho, hid out down there because he thought he wouldn't have to testify. He wasn't heard again for almost 17 years. And so the family hired me, and we found him in Veracruz, Mexico. And everybody said, well, he never would have not called his mom. He never would have called his grandmother. He never would have not graduated high school. He had a girlfriend. He had a dog. All these things. What happened was Zachary Lee Brewer went down there 16, 17 years ago. And after being on the lam for 6 months and staying with his molester's family to hide out, he got run over by a car in the middle of Mexico. When they released him from the hospital, he was 18 years old. They released him on his own, and he was so mentally screwed up, he didn't even know who he was. He walked out and made it to the other coast of Mexico and lived homeless for over 13 years. I've got the pictures of him. You wouldn't believe it. There is a perfect example of a person that went missing and started out running. And now when I contacted his mom, I says, you better be sitting down. She fainted. They called an ambulance because a kid that was about 30-something years old looked like he was 60 because he had been living on the street. And when people asked him, are you Zachary Lee Brewer? He did not know. So it wasn't like he was intentionally hiding anymore. He was just homeless for that amount of time. You never know what's happened in this amount of time.
You're right. Yeah.
So yes, I believe that she left on her own. I believe there's about a 5% chance that there was some foul play from the beginning. But I seem to believe the part about this that bugs me. Listen, if she's dead, excuse me, if she's dead and something happened to her nefarious, there's nothing a private investigator could do other than find the body or figure out and put the pieces together. There's nothing I can do for the woman. I've got to go on the assumption that she's alive and track her down. And that's what I want to talk about today. Some of the steps leading up to a couple of days ago is to where we are. I also want to address why I was so confident in the beginning that we would have found her and how that went downhill real quick. And I also want to speak about some of the people and celebrities. I'm willing to name the names now because we've reached out to them and they're purposely not getting back in touch with us. Some of them have. So if you have a pen and paper and you want to write these people down, if you're not a sports fan, if you're not a rap fan, you might want to write this down so you can Google it.
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Billy. I mean, so I don't even know where to start, but yeah, I have a pen and paper. I'm ready to hear wherever you think you want to start with. So
tell us about how you, like the first thing you said, how you started out thinking that she was just gone of her own volition and how that went downhill.
The car is the anchor. I've always said that one of my specialties is finding somebody with a car. It's a 2016 Dodge Charger, right? Chrysler, Dodge have the same thing in them, which is called a Uconnect. It's kind of like OnStar. So what we did when I first came out with this is that we connected the Uconnect to the vehicle. I paid the fee, connected the Uconnect, which will tell you how much gas is in the car, how many miles, the tire pressure. You can even ping that car. What that car does is it goes and that bounces off cell phone towers, and that tells you where the vehicle could be. I could lock the doors. I can raise the horn. So what I was going to do is just blast the horn at about 3 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles and see if somebody doesn't come and look at that car if we couldn't, or try to report it stolen. The problem here, guys, is at this point, there is still no crime. Everybody wants to know why part of being a private investigator is getting other people to help you. And in the last 48 hours, I have gotten the FBI involved in this. Fox News is now covering this, not just local stations, Fox News, not only because of this show, but because of other things we've been able to do with the family. So part of it is getting more awareness. It's not just go right to the source and find it. This isn't the Equalizer on Sunday night. This isn't Magnum PI. Sometimes as a private investigator, there's things you can't do that you need help with. And the FBI is now, they contacted me. They were never involved in this case. They called me based out of the article that we got in the newspaper and in the article that we got on Fox News. I was a roommate playing professional football with a guy that's on he's one of the announcers on Fox. His name is Tyrus. He's on one of the television shows. So I pulled some strings. Fox looked into this and said, wow, this is a home run. Well, the FBI agent saw it on Fox News, not only on television, but on their website. He's in Dayton, Ohio, and he called me and says, we weren't aware of this. I put him in contact with Detective Ulrich. And so we now have the FBI having a meeting on Friday about this, and they may be able to take this to the next level. So part of being a private investigator is getting help with other people. Shows like this, getting the real information out there is important. So basically what we were able to do is put all that together with the help of the family and try to move forward. So we put Uconnect on the car. And I did this because I wanted to find her before the media went out there. A lot of people were like, well, why isn't the media picking up on this? Well, first of all, I didn't have it for the first 2 weeks. Then about a week later, we wanted to see what Uconnect could do to the car. So we connected it. It was a successful connect. The problem is the radio, which is where you connect it from, is 6 months too old on a 2016. I would actually sent me a receiver. I would have to go to that Uconnect box, reprogram it, and be with the car in order for it to work live. So narrowly missed it. We weren't able to hit the Uconnect. There was a couple of other things that the officers and the detectives that were involved in this have told me to do. I could have broke into her social media Wednesday of last week. I was asked by and requested by the detectives in this case in Columbus not to do that. And I'm going to prove to you how I was able to do that. And this is for any person watching your show. You ready? It's a trick that I learned a long time ago, and I'm going to pull the curtain back and show you how a private investigator, different from the police, if I wanted to get into Michaela's cell phone, and if I wanted to get into her social media, her Facebook, her cell phone number, which, by the way, right now, when you call, and I've never released this, but I will now, when you call her cell phone number, which, by the way, is owned by her father, she is under her father's plan. The car she owns by herself, the cell phone, technically is her dad's. She has it. When you call her phone, it goes to voicemail. It has for quite some time. When you FaceTime her, it rings continuously. When I'm off on my phone, I can't, the people that try it, and I tried this with different services, with Verizon, Metro PCS, when you try to face somebody whose cell phone is off, it doesn't ring 50 times on FaceTime. It just goes, and then it's off. One ring. Hers rings continuously, which makes it look like she might be using Wi-Fi on that phone despite not using the service. That is the first thing I'm releasing to this show today. So that's very, very important. So we've done our due diligence there. But here's how I break into cell phones as a private investigator with missing persons. Let's say that you're missing and I want to find out, but you left your phone behind or you don't own your phone. What you do is you take that phone number. If they're not answering, if it's been weeks or months, and you can't get the person to pick up the phone and it seems hopeless, like this case does with her cell phone, she ain't picking it up, I would have the father go into the cell phone company and buy a new cell phone and connect that number to the new cell phone, okay? So now I've got my new cell phone with Michaela's number. Turn it on, and I go ahead and I reset her passwords. Facebook will send you a passcode to the phone, which they think Michaela still has. They don't know you bought a new cell phone. People buy new cell phones all the time. You run the 5-digit number, you punch it in, you reset her password. Now I'm in her Facebook. Now I'm in her Instagram. And as long as their backup is to that cell phone, whether it's Yahoo or Facebook or even their gym membership or an app to Taco Bell, you can reset it. Do you follow what I'm saying? I was told by the detectives and the police that are involved in this not to do that yet because they want to get a subpoena. And they want to do it. They had a meeting on Tuesday with the detectives. The FBI is going to meet with them on Friday. They did not want me to break into that because if there is something nefarious here, if she was murdered, if somebody did take her against the will, or if she is involved in illegal activities, whether it be escorting or whether it be anything to do with drugs, not to say that she is, the police want to take a look at it and then it becomes a crime. If it becomes a crime, this becomes more of a case for the police. As to right now, it's just a missing persons. So there is some things that I am being told not to do. My advice to the family is always listen to law enforcement. If law enforcement is working on this, and guys, they are, and they are incredible on this, which technically they really don't have to do at this point because there's no crime.
It's true.
Makes sense on how you break in a cell phone?
Yeah, it does make sense.
All you women and men out there going through divorces, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to disconnect your phone because you and your husband were on the same plan. If your husband's smart or if your ex-wife is smart, they'll go ahead and reconnect that phone number once it goes into circulation, and they'll be able to break in all your passwords and everything and see what you're doing. Once you let your old phone number out there, there is one other aspect. I've worked cases before, a case in Mississippi with a guy named Jonathan Estes, where we got his phone, but his number had been dead for so long, it already went into circulation. A high school kid had the phone number. I called the high school kid. I picked him up. I says, let me talk to your mom. He put his mom on the phone. I told him who I was. I said, listen, this phone number belonged to a fellow named Jonathan Estes in Mississippi. He's been missing for years. I'm going to reset his password. She looked the case up. We texted that phone the flyer. She even called law enforcement, and she says, go ahead and do it. And they were able to do it. So we were able to get into that phone based on somebody else who owned the phone number.
That's awesome.
Wow.
What if you have two-factor identification set
Then
up?
you're screwed. Then
Yeah.
you're screwed. A lot of people don't have that though.
So when are you gonna make that decision to do that now?
I'm not going to make the decision. Law enforcement.
Oh, that's what you said. The law enforcement. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, you got to kind of listen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wow. What was it?
So do you want to tell us about I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, well, the people that you found her to be associated with, like you think she's
Yeah, there's celebrities involved in this, which is why the media is going to now start to steamroll. And for the first time, I'm going to give out some of those names. She was spotted in Indianapolis with her cousin. Her cousin has been very helpful. Her cousin lives in Indianapolis. And her cousin was able to tell me that there was some athletes that she was hanging out with. And this is very interesting as to how the news is working lately, too, because I can see the divide in how the news is going to cover this when they're talking to me, and we'll get into that. But she was hanging around a couple of basketball players in Indianapolis that she had never met before. And I wanted to get a hold of these guys. One guy's name was James Blackman. James Blackman was a star basketball player for the Indiana Hoosiers. James Blackman's father was in the NBA and is a big-time high school basketball coach. James Blackman currently plays over in the country of Turkey. He's a professional basketball player over there. He had a cup of coffee in the NBA. He's still trying to make it back. I saw that she had been having communication with him and dealt with him. So I got him on the phone, got him through his father. The interesting thing is the father said he never knew her. But I had text messages that showed on May 31st she was speaking with James Blackman. James Blackman's father, who's also James Blackman Sr., told me that there's no way that his son did that. I'm lying. I'm making this up. I'm looking to make a name off his son. Once again, it's a white girl trying to attach herself to a black athlete. All the same bullshit, right? What he didn't know is I had the text messages. But we were both right. James Blackman later, about 2 days later, called me from his basketball team's office in Turkey. And him and a guy named Trey Lyles, who was another Division I, I believe, basketball player, a big-time athlete in college, and you could look him up. I think he played at Kentucky or something like that. They were friends, and they hung out with her in Indianapolis with her cousin. His conversation with me was very interesting. He says, I looked this up, and when I saw the girl's picture, I knew her face, but I've never heard of Michaela Nelson. I've only heard of Kayla Kay. He goes, I don't know Michaela Nelson. He goes, the name that she gave me was a stage name. It was bullshit. He says, that's why we thought you were lying, because I looked on my Instagram and social media and I knew nobody named Michaela Nelson. All I knew was Kayla Kay.
Because she goes by Michaela Kay on most of her accounts, Michaela Kay. But so I could see, yeah, that, wow.
Kayla
Okay.
Kay. Michaela
Okay.
Kay. Michaela Swigert. Michaela Nelson. I mean, there's names all over the place. Now, my legal name is James Michael Terry. Some people call me Jimmy. My grandma calls me Jimmy. My parents call me Jim. My father and I have the same name. It's how we used to separate each other. It's not really an alias. Now, if all of a sudden I went by, Jimmy Jumpman, well, then that's an alias. You know what I mean? So she had aliases, which is why some of these guys were like, no, we don't know her. We're not involved in this. We don't know anything about it, or they still haven't come forward. So James Blackman and Trey Lyles were two guys. My conversation with them was very interesting. I asked them what that night was like. And they said that she was infatuated with African-American athletes. She wanted to snatch, she wanted to catch, and she wanted to corral a black athlete. She talked about having a black baby so that it could be in the NBA. These are her words. And these were by the two players. What's interesting is one of them, I believe, has a fiance over the last 3 years. So he was more interested in me not telling her about this, that they hung out that night, than anything else. They were very helpful. They were upfront and honest, but they let me into a world that I didn't know existed. And then the dominoes fell from there. There are two guys that came forward. They talked. They got themselves out of this. And then we go on to the next person. The interesting thing is, and why that has anything to do with anything, because I could already see these people in your chat rooms and that run these unofficial Facebook pages saying, well, he's putting people's dirty laundry out there. No, it's already all on social media. I just was able to track them down in another country. The reason it's important is because she told her family she was going to Indianapolis to do modeling. Well, I've talked to the modeling agency. She was not there to do modeling. She was not on the books for any modeling agency that I know of that I've talked to do work there. So what was she really doing there with those guys in that neck of the woods? That also starts a domino effect. She has an African-American friend from inner city Chicago. This girl, by her own admission, is a hood girl. She's told me this. She says, I grew up in one of the worst parts of Chicago. She now owns her own business, college educated, smart, beautiful woman. But she says, listen, I grew up in a bad area in Chicago. I hung out with Michaela one time in Columbus. We were both there, and I hung out with her there one time. And the human beings that she was hanging around with and the people that she was hanging around with were so thugged out, I would never hang out with her again. To the degree when she asked to move in and rent a room with me in Chicago, I declined. And she was laughing. She goes, imagine me, an inner city African-American woman, a black single woman in Chicago, telling this white girl from Cedarville, I can't hang out with you. You're too dangerous. She goes, but based on the drama that was surrounding her, what she was telling her about other famous people that Michaela had hung around, which I'll release here because they're not returning calls, which leads me to believe that she may be hanging out with one of these people on the lam. That was pretty eye-opening to me and very eye-opening to her family.
So modeling sometimes is known for other things. Like I'm going to do modeling, or we're bringing the models in a lot of like that kind of culture. Is there something that you can't talk about that when you talk to the guys in Turkey that, you know, maybe what were they doing that night? All she was talking
They
about.
mentioned, as well as some of her other friends mentioned, that there might have been some people in and around her social circle at that time that were trying to get her into the escort services, that she might have been going up there to try to corral people to do escort services. I've spoke with some of her other female friends who had heard the same thing. The interesting thing is these dozen people don't know each other. So it's not like you two talked and said, hey, did you hear this? And did you hear that? These are people that are like, well, who's Patrice? Who's Sandy? Who's Mike? Who's Jeff? I don't know these people, but let me tell you what she said. And there was people in and around Chicago through these friends that were trying to get Michaela into the escorting business. And that might have been some of the reason that a lot of people believe she might have been in those cities, that she was either being lured there to do that or that she might have been interested in doing it yourself. Now, let me explain escorting. I have a home in Las Vegas. Prostitution in the state of Nevada in some areas is legal. Escorting is not necessarily illegal. If you want to hang out, let's say I want to pay you two ladies to come with me to a Christmas party because you're both hot chicks, right? And I want my boss to think I'm a high roller. I bring you two to the Christmas party. I pay you $500. We all go our separate ways. Now, if afterwards I say, well, here's your $500. By the way, I got a hotel room down the street. That's another $1,500. Now that's illegal. You see where I'm coming from? Yes. Escort services sometimes are advertised in paper. Doesn't mean it's illegal. So the modeling agencies are saying she never worked those gigs. Her family thought she was there to visit cousins and different people. The people that were hanging out with her said, we don't even know these type of people that she was hanging around. It's very interesting. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that 100%, but it's a big, far cry from what people thought 3 or 4 weeks ago, which is why this case is so involved and it feels like a rusty chain. I have to interview a hell of a lot of people. And that doesn't help, guys, when I have fake web sleuths, when I have psychics, tarot card readers, and desperate housewives running Facebook pages that have their own narrative and are more interested about being the people that find out information than finding out the information that's really going on. We are monitoring everything with this girl, and our number one goal is to bring her home. If I find her, great. If you two find her, phenomenal. If Jennifer in Columbus, Ohio, who's a school teacher, runs a radio show on the weekend and finds out where she is, God bless her. The most important thing is that she's found. Trust me, the family is very confident with what they've paid me, and I've been paid in full. I'm not an hourly employee. I've already been paid, no matter what happens. So my goal is to find her as quick as possible. And so I don't have an ego about who finds her. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat. And facts don't care about people's feelings when it comes to missing persons. So if you don't like the way I talk, if you don't like the way that I say things, listen, that's your problem. The bottom line is I'm not going to lie to any of you people. I'm just going to give it to you as it comes in. And now I'm able to do that here.
So when was this when she was spotted in Indianapolis? Was this kind of recently or?
There is several different cities. Now, a lot of the things that involve some of the celebrities in this have been deleted from her page. Several of her friends and people that were involved with her took screenshots of it. And guys, I'm learning a hell of a lot about social media. I don't have a Twitter. My company does not have a website. I do not do a hell of a lot with Facebook. I still have a pro football career to a degree. I play arena football and have for years. So I have a website that has to do with football, but I don't do a lot of that. I just let the news that I've done and the articles that I've been in sell itself for my business as a private investigator. I do it in the off season of playing football, which is right now. We don't start until about March. So what I do is I just take everything that I can, I give it to the family, I try to make the best possible picture. And unfortunately, over the last week and a half, I've had to put out more fires that people are causing, thinking they're helping. We talked about this off the air, and this is irritating as shit. And I'd like to dive into that real quick before we get on.
You should do that.
Okay, no? So what? Or am I on mute?
Yeah, no, you're not.
Oh no, okay.
Well, it before you start that though, Jim, like it is unfortunately not just a phenomenon on Facebook. It does happen where a lot of people want the recognition of not necessarily even finding the person that's missing, but somehow inserting themselves into an investigation and having info, whatever that info is, and being the first to have it. And what's important in all these cases is getting the person, like actually having an emotional reason for getting them home. And for this case in particular, like you were saying, she had just lost her mother like 8 weeks before. So that means her dad just lost a wife. And then here is a daughter that is missing. So the dad lost a wife, lost their daughter. The sisters lost a mother, lost a sister. Their brother, same thing. So you have to kind of think of the people that are really involved in this and take yourself, not you, I'm just saying you as general. I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about everybody. We have to take ourselves out of the equation and think about the family first. And that's what's really important. And I think you're doing that. And obviously you have this goal, and anyone that gets in the way of that goal in order to fulfill their bored lives in any kind of way. And I'm not accusing anyone of doing that. I haven't seen it. But if that's what you're doing, you need to kind of step back and check yourself, because that's not what being into true crime is really about. It's great to, maybe you want to cover old cases if you see yourself getting too emotionally attached to something. But yeah, so I just wanted to put that out there.
You're 100% right. And let me give you an analogy I get. And I'm a little long-winded with this, but it's important. I want people to understand where I come from. I'm not a bad guy. I just have two speeds: stop and go. If that's not for you, then you don't hire me. If you don't like the way I talk, if I'm too blunt, if what I say is more offensive than the history and the statistics I have in never finding everybody in 6 years of doing this, if what I say offends you and that's more important than my stats of finding people, well, then the most important thing is not finding somebody. And here's what we're in right now. These type of human beings on the internet, and it's not all of them, you guys are doing a good thing. You've got somebody who is directly involved, hired and retained by the family, working with the police and the FBI on media. I'm in the newspaper articles. My cell phone number is there. If you want to interject yourself into this case, you have my number, 813-993-2242. Call me. Give me a call. I'll talk to you. If you're a psychic, you might not like what I have to say to you. I had a psychic call me on Monday night. I says, not a problem. Give me the score of the Buccaneers-Giants game and I'll hire you. They hung up on me. Okay. Wow. And that's not to be funny. I don't have time for bullshit. So what I'm telling you is this: if you want to interject yourself into this case, if you're on a website or a radio show and you're doing a whole deal on this and you haven't talked to me or law enforcement, there is no way you know what's going on behind closed doors. It's all assumptions based on stuff that it's a game of telephone. And these are the same people. I was lucky enough to play college football on scholarship. I was lucky enough to play pro football for a lot of years. I don't look like a pro football player, but I have been. And every year my parents would call me around August and say, Jim, Our neighbors have a youth football team. Their kids are playing. Will you go out there and work with the coaches? They would love to talk to you. And here's what happened every year. I'd go out there. I'd see a bunch of frustrated athlete parents, guys that never played high school ball, people that sit around and watch the NFL on Sunday and screaming and yelling at kids and making big to-dos and running plays and doing all this kind of stuff. And they had no idea what they were doing. Then they would look at me and be upset that a guy with a college background and a pro background might want to interject and say, hey, listen, you don't need to scream at that kid. Here's the proper tackling technique. Here's how you punt a football. Those type of little league youth coaches are the same type of human beings that are now web sleuths and podcasters. They watch Investigation Discovery like the youth coaches watch football on Sunday, and they say, shit, I can do this. I'll just go on. And what they don't realize is they're hindering investigations. If you have a show, if you're interested in this and you want to put flyers out of Michaela and you want to go ahead on your own dime and put them in every gas station and parking lot area from here to Seattle, God bless you. I'll tell you where to do it. If you want to call me and you have some questions or you think you know how to track that car and I'm a jackass and I don't know what I'm doing, call me. We'll speak. I have no problem. And then I'll give you the credit for it. But to start up a Facebook page with a bunch of your girlfriends who watch The Bachelorette on Tuesday night, which, by the way, I'm enthralled with, and then you go ahead and watch Investigation Discovery on Wednesday, and then you have a podcast on Thursday, and you think that you know what you're doing, you're hurting the situation. And we recently got hurt by some of those people that are doing this, and that's what I'm so fired up about on this show. And that's what I wanted to explain to you.
Okay. I don't know how much do you want to get into that or how specific?
I get phone calls from the family, and I'm pissed about this. I get phone calls from the family a couple of days ago, and we're all on a giant text ring. They all have my cell phone. We talked. Some of them are in the Dakotas. Some of them are in Illinois, and they're saying, Michaela got money. People are sending Michaela money on Venmo. I am very aware of all of her Venmo accounts, all of her Cash App accounts, her bank accounts, her checking accounts, who she has her car note with, where she bought her car. I've spoke with the apartment complex at the Lux. I even spoke to the janitors. There is nobody in her life other than a couple celebrities, which we'll get to at the end of this here soon, that I haven't spoke to. Probably over 175 interviews with people that not even the family knew that she knew. People from other countries, okay? And I get phone calls, frantic phone calls a couple of days ago from an unofficial face group, bunch of women that put this group together that say they're 501c3. I don't even know what that has to do with anything other than I think they think that gets them out of having to have a license to do this. And what they do is they found Michaela's Venmo account.
Is a 501c3, what is that, a nonprofit?
Yeah. So in the state of Florida, if you don't accept money as a private investigator, you technically can work on a case. So what's happening is these web sleuths are figuring out, well, I don't have to go to school. I don't have to pass an exam. And guys, there's states out there like Idaho and Wyoming. All you need is a business license to be a PI. It's not like you got to go through Harvard to become a private investigator. I had a 2.1 GPA. If that was the case, I'd still be I'd be teaching elementary school again. What I'm telling you is you could do this the right way. What they do is they say, well, I'm in Florida. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to be an understudy. I don't want to work under somebody. I'm a housewife with 5 screaming kids. I can't get away to do the classes or whatever the issue is. There's no issue with that. And then what they do is they open up a 501c3 and they become an advocate, which means now they believe they can do investigating. And because they're not getting paid, it's legal. Bullshit. The caveat to that is a lot of 501c3s pay their employees. If I have a 501c3, I can take a draw from that or I can accept donations. So now I have a podcast. Now I have a radio show. And I get on here and I said, I'm a 501c3 web sleuth and I'm looking for Michaela and here's what I'm doing. And all the while in the chat room, $2.99, $1.99, $5.99, and I'm making money on my radio show, but not making money on being a private investigator. And I split it right down the middle. And now I'm making money as a private investigator. And then I'm reaching out to these families and these families say, well, why would I hire a legit private investigator? I got Stephanie from Fort Myers doing this for me. I don't need a real PI. Try that with a dentist. Have somebody pull your tooth in their basement and see how it goes, because they're willing to do it for free. And unfortunately, it's life and death matters. So a couple of days ago, the family is going nuts at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning because they see that people are sending her money on Venmo. And what they put on the bottom of Venmo in Michaela's account is it was for groceries. And there's a couple of these things. Well, now I get up in the morning and I say, okay, I find the person in the picture is there. I find this woman in Fort Myers, Florida. It took me 3 hours to figure out who she was, to do a background on her, to see if maybe she did have something to do with this. And she just screwed up. Maybe Michaela's getting money from somebody and she screwed up and didn't think we knew about the Venmo account. Meanwhile, the family's in a tizzy. They think that she's getting groceries from a woman in Florida who, by the way, was in the military. So was her husband, who now worked at a post office or something. So I tracked this woman down. First, I get her husband on the phone because she wouldn't answer the phone. And he says, well, my wife is a web sleuth or an advocate. And I says, does she know Michaela? He goes, I don't know who Michaela is. I says, well, she sent her money at 4 o'clock this morning or at 7 o'clock this morning. And the family's, I need to know if she knows who she is. Finally, I get the wife on the phone after getting into a fight with that guy on his cell phone. The wife picks up the phone and already knows who I am. She goes, I'm very aware of who you are. I'm with this Facebook page and you made fun of our owner's eyebrows and how dare you? And I sent her money. I says, ma'am, do you realize that this family at 5 o'clock in the morning had hope that their daughter was alive because somebody was sending them money? And it's some lady with nothing better to do with kids screaming in the background that thinks they're a private investigator. Do you know the kind of time it took us to figure out what the hell was going on here? And that's why I'm so adamant about this and so irritated, because it even got to law enforcement at one time. So what I did was I took all those girls' names and I sent them to the states that they live in, that they're dealing with, and I turned them into the state for acting as private investigators, because what they're doing is illegal, and now it's affected the family. Do you see where I'm coming from? You guys aren't doing that.
What is their intention in trying to send her money to? Are they trying to get information or something?
If you send her money on Venmo and she accepts the money, then she must be alive.
Oh, that's what they're trying to see. Okay. But how can they tell if she accepts it? They have that ability to see?
I don't know.
Okay.
You have to ask those morons. If I thought it worked, I'd do it. I don't do a lot with Venmo and Cash App. I have it. I've worked with it before, but we're monitoring it. And then there's 5 or 6 of these. So then what they do is they post their Venmo account, and there's people sending $10, $5, and it says, for groceries or gas. And now the family's calling me. Somebody sent Michaela money for gas. And I'm like, holy shit. It takes me 2 hours to find out it's Stacy in Columbia, South Carolina. And she's a school teacher, but was off that day.
Oh, man.
You see the difference? You see the kind of shit I got to grapple with because people watch too much television?
So what it does, you guys, it is, instead of him being able to put time into finding Michaela, he has to track down all these leads and make sure that they're solid leads. So it's taking away from finding Michaela. So the good...
Not to mention put the family in an absolute uproar because they thought there was hope that their daughter had just come out of the woodwork.
Yep, man.
And that's cool.
Man.
And it probably wasn't anyone's intention to do that. I don't think anyone intentionally wanted to hurt her family. But now that you hear this, right, and you see where this is going, this maybe isn't the way to go about everything. And Jim's been very open to, if you have info or you call him, he's down to collaborate and hear you out and everything, whoever you are. But this kind of stuff needs to stop because he is trying to find her and her family. Tomorrow, here we go again, what we talked about last night, right? If you weren't here, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Every one of us, luckily, knock on wood, whatever, gets to go home and have a nice Thanksgiving and not, have regular family squabbles. Michaela's family what are they going to be doing? And the memories they have to deal with. So let's not try, especially in this time of the year, to put any more stress or pressure on people that are grieving. It's cruel. Now that this is something that's cruel moving forward.
Well said. And I'm sorry to vent. It's something that listen, if I didn't care if this was about the money, which I'm going to be honest with you, it's hit or miss. You know what I mean? It really, really is. And I only work one case at a time. I'm not working 5 cases right now. I don't deal with a cheating housewife at 9 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock I'm Michaela. This is all Michaela all the time. But just to digress from that, yeah, that fired me up a little bit. And I don't think these people, they're either too stupid to realize what they're doing, or they don't think, or they just don't care. They don't care. They're more interested in getting people to their Facebook page or their radio program or to their Twitter, because they want to be the one that cracks it. If she would have called me, or any of these people would have called me and said, hey, I want to put $10, $20 on Michaela's Venmo. Do you think that'll help? Yeah, and let me give you my Venmo. You could send me $100. I'll send money to me or her all day long that you want. If you think that, give me a call. The problem is it's an ego thing. See, they want to be the one that finds her. They want to be the one that gets over on the loudmouth private investigator, and that's fine. My phone number is the same as it's always been. It's a Florida area code. My business is based out of Mississippi. I've had this number for a decade. It's not going to change. It's in all types of articles. It's in all types of stories, and my history is out there. So what you guys are doing is doing things the right way, and that's one of the vessels that I'm able to use to hopefully get this out. I know it's not as entertaining as giving up names of celebrities and talking about cases, but guys, there is nothing entertaining about this to me, which is why when you guys ask me about other cases in LA or in Utah, I don't know about them. I'm only focused on one. And we are starting to move a little bit here. This thing is getting some traction because of shows like this. This has helped out tremendously to get the legitimacy and the parents are watching, her father and her family are watching this show right now, you know, and these are people, listen, these aren't just people that are grieving the loss of their wife, their mom. One of her siblings is in college and he's in medical school. So for this kid to have to get out of a class because he thinks his sister is receiving money from some asshole in South Florida who's sitting around playing private investigator, which is illegal, it creates a lot of problems, and I'm the one that has to deal with that. So it is what it is.
Wow. Hopefully some of those people are watching right now so they knock it off, you know, and stop doing that.
Call me. We'll work together. I have no ego with working with people, but just give me a call. Give me a shot.
Yeah. Why are they so against? I'm confused. Wonder why they're so against what you're doing when you're trying to.
Because I said some things on your show that irritated them. I said that there was 4 hot chicks living in an apartment, and there's no way 4 girls that good looking could be in that apartment and not be up to some bullshit. Well, let me tell you something. One of them disappeared. So I might know what I'm talking about. That offended people. We live in a culture right now where, you know, listen, I'm not telling you anything that isn't true. You might not like the way I say it, and that may hurt me in my business. I might not get jobs because of that. But this family knows that the only goal I have in life right now, my holidays, my family, is to find their loved one. And that's it. And they can't even say that it's an hourly employee. See, a lot of people like to say, well, he's doing this and he's charging the family. I've been paid in full. I'm the only private investigator in the country that does not charge by the hour. I charge a lump sum fee up front, and that's it. No matter what, if it takes me 5 years, I'm shit out of luck. So there's a lot of people that don't like the way I do things. And then they watch television and they see different shows and they say, well, that's not how they do it here, and that's not how they do it there. Well, I can't throw a football like Tom Brady either, but there's other people that throw a football that are successful that aren't him. But if he's the only one you're watching, you would think everybody else sucks. So the bottom line is, if you're a school teacher, if you're a math teacher, if you work at UPS, do what you need to do. Like George Carlin said when they used to heckle him on stage as a comedian, I don't come to your job and knock the mop out of your hand. Don't come into my job and heckle me, and that's what they're doing here.
Huh.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anything else that.
And guys, there's two celebrities I'd like to get on the phone. There's 2 people of interest for me in this that I'd like to speak to, and this has moved to a degree where I can mention them today.
Okay.
We ready?
We're down.
Okay. I mean, it's your show.
No, I'm ready.
You want to take a commercial? I'm pissed. This bothered me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This bothered me. But what I can tell you is that there's 2 celebrities I would like to get a hold of. Not saying that they have anything to do with their disappearance, but one of them in particular has been avoiding me. His name is Alfonso Mckinney. And Alfonso Mckinney, played for the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers. He played at the University of Green Bay and has had some ties to Wisconsin. Well, who do we know has been in Wisconsin, guys?
That's what I keep saying. She loved Wisconsin. She talked about how much she
Yeah.
loved Wisconsin.
She also loved Alfonso Mckinney, according to a lot of people that I talked about. Alfonso Mckinney, I've been trying to reach for 2 weeks, which is another reason we didn't want to go to the press. Alfonso Mckinney is an NBA player who played 4 years of college at 2 different schools. He's an African-American guy, probably about 6'9", big dude. And I've tried to reach him over the last 2 weeks and been very unsuccessful, except for today. So Alfonso Mckinney is somebody that I know through conversations I've had with friends of hers and family members she was infatuated with to a degree that she liked, who is currently on the road playing in the minor league system of the NBA. There's a team that plays professional basketball out of Mexico called the Capitals or something. And the NBA has a minor league system after college. So it's somewhere like NBA purgatory, right? And he plays for the team in Mexico City. So the first thing that I'm thinking is, could she have gotten all the way to Mexico City and is staying at his place while he's out there playing basketball in Lakeland and Austin, Texas? Makes sense. She was with him in Wisconsin. She knew about him. She was hanging out with him. They had an affinity for each other. They had more than just a friendship. Could she be with him? So I contacted the G League, which is the minor league system. It's the Gatorade League, the minor league system of the NBA. They would not return my calls about this. I contacted the team. They would not return my calls about this. So I started trying to track down Alfonso Mckinney. I found his agent from 3 years ago when I believe he was with the Lakers or Golden State Warriors. He said he's no longer his agent. I sent him the story, and he gave me the number to Alfonso Mckinney's new agent, a guy named Silverman out in Los Angeles. Silverman has a relative who's also his agency's attorney. I got her on the phone. She listened to the story. She verified the story, verified who I was, and says, we're not talking about this anymore, and hung up on me. Well, now my radar's up. If the NBA player didn't know who he was, who she was, if there was no connection, why would the attorney not just say, listen, I'll get a hold of him, see what we know about this, we'll get back to you, or law enforcement. They don't have to talk to me, call the cops. She hung up on me, wouldn't talk to me. For another 7 days, I tried to reach anybody involved with the G League, the National Basketball Association, or Alfonso Mckinney. Nobody would return my calls until today. I got a blocked call, which, by the way, Trap Call at $4.50 a month allows you to unblock masked calls. So for all you assholes out there that think you're calling me from a blocked number, I got your cell phone number and I know who you are and where you live. Trap Call is phenomenal for people that are in the media or in private investigating. It's one of the reasons my cell phone number is down here, because if you call me with a blocked number, I hit a button, it melts it away, and I know who you are. So I get a blocked call today from Mexico. I'm able to unblock the call. It's the president of the G League team in Mexico. What I did was I contacted the general manager. I couldn't get any of the front office from this basketball team. So I found the front office, the general manager, the guy that's above the coach of the basketball team, and I called his parents in Maine. And I says, your son is the manager of a basketball team who has a player on it I want to speak to about a missing woman. That's how far I took this, guys. They called their son, 71-year-old mom called her son and said, hey, listen, some nut job is on the phone here, and the team called me within an hour. Like that. I explained to them the story. They have to run it by their security system. So each NBA team and each minor league NBA team has a police officer, like a detective assigned to it in case these guys get into some shit, right? You watch on TV all the time. So each team has like their own little police force. I didn't know that. And I'm a pro athlete. We don't have that shit. Otherwise I'd probably have been arrested 5 times. So, they were looking into it. They're well aware of it. I gave them a deadline of 6 o'clock today to get back to me to speak with Alfonso Mckinney, who, by the way, is on 5 days leave, is home right now for Thanksgiving. The team is off for Thanksgiving and for the weekend. It's kind of like their all-star break. I have not heard back from them. Alfonso Mckinney, you need to call me. I need to hear from you. I want to know what your involvement with this woman is. I want to know what your relationship with her was like. And I kept quiet for 2 weeks, including taking crow on this show. I need to hear from you, if for nothing else, to eliminate you as somebody she is not sitting in the living room with right now. It is very possible that she is sitting in his living room, hanging out, and he doesn't know anything about this because he's been traveling around the country. He has to have an apartment or a home. Why couldn't she be sitting in that apartment or that home watching all this on her cell phone, on Wi-Fi, or on a computer, or whatever she's doing, looking into this? He's not returning my calls. James Blackman returned my call. Hell, that NBA player called me from the country of Turkey. Why isn't Alfonso Mckinney returning my calls? Why isn't his agent dealing with me? Why aren't they calling law enforcement? I want to speak to Alfonso Mckinney, and I think he is part of the reason she might have been where she was at in Milwaukee and Wisconsin when the Milwaukee Bucks won the world title this year against Phoenix. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it does make sense. So you said he's in Mexico City right now, right?
No.
Oh.
The team is based out of Mexico City, but because of COVID, the teams in the States can't go back and forth to Mexico. So it would be like if you took the New York Jets and they were based out of Kansas City and they played all road games. They never go home to New York to play a game. They're only on the road. So he's traveling around the country all over the place, playing all over the place. But his home, which I believe he has a home maybe in Los Angeles, maybe in Chicago. There was an article about him buying his family a home in Chicago, which she was in Chicago. She was also, Milwaukee's not that far. Is she hanging out with him in Chicago? I don't know. I'd like to eliminate
it. Chicago. All right. Wow. So
Alfonso Mckinney is a guy I would like to speak with.
Chicago. Okay. And okay. So that's weird that he won't get back with you.
Not only will he not, his agent hung up on me, his agent's attorney hung up on me, and now the basketball team finally called me. But these people are so worried about their jobs that they push it up the rung. So what I did was I called the general manager's mom, who called him, and I says, why didn't the GM call me? He says, oh, he didn't want to call you. He didn't know what to do. He didn't want to get involved. He pushed it up here. So it's kind of like a girl's on a college campus and she gets sexually assaulted and she goes to her teacher and the teacher says, let me call the dean. And then the dean goes, oh, goodness gracious, let me call campus security. The campus security says, well, let me call the local police. The local police says, let me call the president of the school. And then they have a meeting and figure out what happens. Nobody wants to take the lead on this because they don't know. They just don't know. It would take them about 10 minutes to call Alfonso Mckinney and say, they have the article. They know who I am. They vetted me. Do you know this woman? We don't want this guy on our ass anymore. If you know this woman, if she's sitting in your house while you're on the road with us, would you let somebody know? They haven't done that yet, and that draws a lot of red flags with a guy like me.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So how much time has to pass before law enforcement will get involved or will
Law enforcement's been involved in this from the beginning. It's just a matter of what they're able to do. I could break into her cell phone and her social media accounts today, and I don't have a warrant. Technically, it would be legal because the father owns the cell phone. What's Michaela going to do? Call the cops? I'll tell you what, she wants to call the cops on me. Go ahead. That'd be a good problem to have right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to do things a certain way, which is the difference between a private investigator. Like, for example, if this goes outside of state lines, and they got to call the police in that state or that county. If I'm registered in that state, or if this encompasses a state that I'm involved in, sort of like if there's a crime in your hometown, the cops come. Or when you watch the movie Batman can go anywhere and get the bad guy, right? It's not like the Batman only can be in Gotham. He could leave Gotham, but that's where his home is. Private investigators can be like that. We can go to different counties in the same state, all over Mississippi, all over Idaho, where that police officer can't leave that area. Now, the FBI is different. U.S. Marshal Service is different, all of which are now looking into this case, which is incredible because there's no crime. Yet today, there's still no crime, and they're giving it a lot of due diligence, which is what pissed a lot of people off with the Gabby Petito case, because everybody jumped on it when she was missing. They didn't know she was dead. I'm talking about the first week or so. Everybody dove on top of that, and they're like, well, there's no crime. Well, then they found a crime, and it exploded. We've not found a crime yet. So they're looking into it. They had a meeting today. I've got to stand down. They've got several things they've got to do to be able to get warrants, to be able to do things the right way. Because if they break in, or they could break into her cell phone right now. They break into her cell phone right now and found out that she was taken by the cartel and she's in Mexico, or she went to Canada and they killed her. If they did that illegally, they're jeopardizing their ability to arrest people. What do they call it? Fruit of the poisonous tree. A private investigator, I don't give a shit about who gets arrested. I just want to bring the loved one home. And I've had those conversations with parents before. Is it more important to get the person that killed your kid arrested or find his body? Because if we find this person and it disrupts the police's ability to go and arrest the people. The Gloria Alvarado case I had in Detroit, I found that girl and they couldn't prosecute her, anybody that was with her. But her family was more interested in having her home. They couldn't prosecute her because I had her delivered to the police's department, and they could never really look back through the case to see who to arrest, and it had already been ruined. That pisses them off. Where the family was pretty happy with me. So it's more important that I bring the person home than make an arrest. I can't make arrests.
Yeah.
Do you know where Alfonso lives?
His parents have a home in Chicago. I've tried to reach out to them today. He could have homes a lot of different places. This is a guy that played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers. He played for some other low-level teams. I don't know. I do know one thing. By tomorrow morning, everybody's going to know who the hell he is. Everybody's going to know that I want to talk to him. And he might be a hero in this. He might be able to call me and say, hey, listen, I heard that she was going here. I heard that she knew this guy. I heard that or he could say, listen, I don't know her. Now, if he tells me that, I know he's lying, but he might know her from a different name as well.
That's true. Yeah.
So I want to speak to him. And unfortunately, they forced my hand after 2 weeks, a week and a half to have to do it through the media.
Ronan, the accuser, wants to know, has she been on any social media at all?
No. I got that confirmed today through the father who spoke with the detectives. She has not logged on to any of the known social media. I have 5 Facebook pages. I got a girl, I got a guy, I got a black guy, I got a white guy, I got somebody looks like a high school kid, just for what I do as a private investigator. Does she have a new Facebook account? A new social media account that we're not aware of, and she's going by some other name, possibly, but none of her previously well-known documented pages. No.
Okay.
She did.
Guys, there was somebody that told me, and these are what the web sleuths did too. They said, well, she had 222 people that she was following, and on Wednesday there's 223. There was some huge deal, about this went up one. They got the family all worked up about that. So the person that she tried to follow didn't accept the follow for a couple of weeks. So she, weeks and weeks ago, tried to follow somebody, and they didn't click that they would allow her to follow or get her into their criteria. They didn't accept her. So now she went from 222 to 223 because they accepted her weeks later. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But all these assholes got the families worked up because they said that, she liked Tom Cruise. Well, she could have done that, and that's not the person, but she could have done that, 10 weeks ago.
Right.
So she never accepted the Venmo, right?
No, not that I know. So, no.
Let's see if there's any other questions in here.
And guys, I'm not the only one looking at that. So is the police. So are the detectives. If you want, you're going to cut your own throat with this stuff. You can't do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So the cops are going. You don't have to take my word for it. They'll be calling you.
So do you think they'll reach out and try to get a hold of Alfonso then? Are they going to make
somebody will sooner or later. I think that team will get back in contact with me to some degree, and not if they don't want me to keep bringing up his name in the press. If he's got nothing to do with this, if he has no connection with her. But then again, I don't know his personal life. He could be married for all I know. He could have a baby on the way, and then his girlfriend's like, well, what are you doing with this girl? Wait a minute. You were with it. See, that's the problem with this stuff. That's why I like to do it all behind closed doors. But he won't let me. His team won't let me. His agent won't let me. So we're going to do it this way. We can do things the easy way or the hard way. Alfonso needs to get a hold of me. My number's right there.
Well, hopefully he will. To clear his name, because if
there's nothing right. He's just a person I want to speak to that won't speak to me. What does that tell you?
Yeah.
I've had bigger people than Alfonso Mckinney call me about this story. Much bigger names.
So none of her friends have heard from her, or
nope.
How's her dad holding up? He just lost his wife. Now he lost me.
He's incredibly strong. He is one of the most mild-mannered. It makes you even feel worse. It makes you want to work all the harder. I've worked for people that are assholes, control freaks. I turned down a case today. By the way, in Cleveland, Ohio, I got calls because of your show this morning. A family wanted me in a a government, somebody that works in government in Cleveland. I don't know if they were a city councilman or something. They wanted me to take a case in Cleveland where there was another girl that was trying to get into the National Guard, was dealing with the National Guard, and she went missing. And that was in Cleveland, a black girl. And the family and the township called me and they wanted me to take the case. I says, well, I only do one case at a time. I compared notes with them this morning. But there was another girl who went missing. And then again, they were pissed. You know, why isn't she getting the press? This is a black girl that's not getting the press that Michaela's getting. And I says, listen, we've been at this for weeks, my friend. You know, this girl that you're talking about has never really put herself out there like that. Plus, she was trying to get into the National Guard. This woman actually went AWOL. So I dealt with her. So it leads to other cases as well.
Libra Scale says, this is directed to you. Can you see it, Jim?
Go ahead and read it to me out loud. It's hard for me to see, and I don't want people to see how blind I am by squinting.
Do you have good laugh lines, Jim?
What? No, I get Restylane Botox.
Let's see them. Let's see your laugh lines.
Are you kidding me? It says, Jim Terry, despite being one of the best looking private investigators on the planet, is that the one?
Yeah, just the one above that. Okay. The one above that one. Okay, so it says, Jim Terry, when not on the court, McKinney spends time with his gorgeous girlfriend, Johanna Leah, who describes herself as Greek and Sudanese. So at this point, I guess he had a girlfriend, according to this.
Interesting. That could be another reason he doesn't want to talk to me. Well, I'll tell you what. You web sleuths out there, see if you can't get a hold of Alfonso Mckinney of his girlfriend. Send him this video and tell him I want to talk to either one of them. Hey, listen, he could have just been somebody that hung out with her a few times at some events. Either way, he should probably call me.
Right.
Who is Greek X? What does that mean? Is that some kind of a stage name for a social media icon? What is that?
No, so that means she's like probably half Greek and half Sudanese, like from Sudan.
Oh, describes herself. I missed that first part.
Okay, describes herself. Okay, yeah. I thought that was her name, like Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? That's really not his name. You know what I mean? That kind of
like a stage name. Yeah, no, she's not Greek Sudanese. She's yeah.
Okay, so, well, yeah. Well, we'll try to look into.
I describe myself as Florida Cracker.
Yeah, I saw a comment, but it was so far up. I'm sorry. I'm probably gonna have to go all the way up there. I'm so sorry. I don't remember who it was. I'm gonna try to find it, but I'm really bad at it about going up. But it said that Michaela had been hospitalized for being bipolar.
I found it right here.
Boom.
Is that?
What did you find? Read it. Go ahead, and I'll answer.
Read it, Zach.
Says she was diagnosed bipolar, has been hospitalized for suicidal ideation. Her behavior was manic and she seemed like a whole different person. I'm not convinced this wasn't a mental break suicide.
I agree with a lot of that. I agree with almost all of it. Whoever that is pretty close to this because there is a lot of that that's true. There was never a suicide attempt. I do know that she went into the hospital a couple of times, and this is out there. She has spoken publicly about this, but she did go to a hospital to seek mental health professional help 3 different times between 2018 and now, which is interesting that she was able to get into the military. So I question, and listen, I'm not a mental health professional, so I leave that to the experts. But yes, that person, whoever that is very close to this or has done their homework. That's somebody I'd like to talk to. Very good.
Maria Zahippie, if you're still here, we'll take this down, and Jim Terry's number is right there on the screen under his picture. I could read it out to you if you're just listening. If you want to grab a pen or rewind, I'll read it out. It's 813-993-2242.
And guys, and this isn't a secret, but I'll just pull the curtain back again. One of the things I did, and the reason I looked into her mental health, into her history in any sort of a hospital, is I had reached out and talked to her biological father, her father-in-law, the father-in-law's new wife. Her mother-in-law reached out to me. The mother-in-law's new husband reached out to me. And these people all called to tell me about her, and they had some interesting backdrop in this. But I wanted to take this information about her mental health to some degree, if it existed, and give it to the police and get them to launch a silver alert. A lot of people think silver alerts are only for people that are old. Like 80-year-old grandmother goes out to get ice cream, she don't come back, right? That guy walks the dog and all of a sudden grandma's in, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Well, what it really does, and what the detectives described to me, and see, I don't have a law enforcement background. I'm just a recovery guy, kind of like a guy that would go, doesn't mean I know how to drive stick shift, but I can tow the car home. So what I did was I asked the detective Ulrich about this. I says, why not issue a silver alert? If I can prove her mental history might have been a little bit shaky. He says, no. The silver alert in the state of Ohio has to be somebody. Let me give you an example. If I called you guys, you're my sisters, and I said, listen, I'm having a terrible day. My head hurts. My girlfriend broke up with me. I'm going to kill myself. And then I disappear. That's dangerous. They issue a silver alert. She had some mental issues that she was dealing with years ago, and she went missing. Not the same thing.
Okay. Hold on. I'll be right back. 1 second. I got to unlock this door.
Okay. So I actually had a question, and I just blanked out on it.
Can I grab something real quick?
No way.
Yeah, you got.
Is it alcoholic?
Grab some notes of mine. Go ahead and just talk for about 30 seconds. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, you can do it.
Don't know if I can. So it might be also that maybe in the National Guard they, don't have like the same, like as high as standards. Hey, he'll be back. He's getting notes. But I was thinking maybe in the National Guard, there's not as high as standards to meet, as there would be in like the Army, because I knew a head case that was in the National Guard. You're muted.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm sure there isn't, right?
Yeah.
It's
I did know
know.
a wackadoo when I was young.
Yeah.
That was in the National Guard. And I was like, damn, they're going to let you carry a gun. I can't even believe it.
That is kind of crazy though, huh? So was she diagnosed with anything, did they say? Is that what they...
We should get it back. I don't know. I thought that it said she was admitted into a psychiatric hospital. Now I feel like I'm reaching, it's not even that long.
I don't know. Let me see if I can find it again. Do you have anything else we should go over, do you think?
Yeah, I heard the question, Judah. I had to plug the phone in and get a drink. I'll tell you this, and I won't keep you much longer on this. Her family and the police have all of her information as far as her mental health, so they're looking into that, as well as the military. So they know. So for me to sit here and say, okay, she was diagnosed with this, and she had a splinter, and she broke her arm, and it's really not going to help us get any closer. But that stuff's already out there. She was very public and open and honest about it. So I'm not telling any stories out of school. So, there is some issues with that. The word manic has come up a lot with people that knew her, roommates, college friends. They would say that when she was manic is when she would be super social media girl. When everything was good and calm and she was going through the military. What's really interesting is the best mental health she had was when she was away from that stupid cell phone and computer when she was in boot camp. I've heard that from several people. People that were with her in boot camp or whatever that's called down there reached out to me in South Carolina or North Carolina and in Florida. And they said how happy she was, how calm she was, how fit she felt, how great things were up here, not just physically here, but up here because she got away from all that bullshit. And that, guys, I see so much of that now. I thought as a private investigator, I would find people that were getting snatched at Walmart and, put in the trunk of a car and chasing them down. And you know what the majority of it is? People screwing around with folks online and leaving with them. And that's 90% of it.
No, I believe that. I mean, just watching her videos, we caught on to that she's seen manic and that, so that makes sense. So maybe that does make sense that she could be hiding out this long right now, actually. Well, I'm going to put up a picture because a lot of people don't even know who she is. They're like, can we see a picture of her?
And a lot of people have said she might be crazy as a fox. So she's doing this, waiting to get that major media push. And then it would be like if Gabby Petito would have walked out of the woods of Wyoming. There you go. There she is.
So those of you that haven't seen her, that is
Now that
her.
picture is from her social media. That picture right there that I'm seeing with you guys is a picture of what people told me is Kayla K or Michaela K, not Michaela Nelson. That comes from one of the social media pushes.
Whoa.
And that does look like a Kayla K picture.
Like
it's very Kayla K. And then that looks like a Michaela picture with her dog.
Yeah, that's the dog.
Kiki.
Is that the dog's name, Kiki?
Kiki,
Yes.
yeah. At least that's what she said in her social media. So I don't know. Maybe it was like a stage name for her dog when she had, you know. I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, that's what it says when she.
Guys, you know what I love about pictures like this? Can you go back?
Yeah, which one? This one?
Most people look at the picture, they see the person. I've solved cases by looking at pictures and seeing things that were in the background, the clock on the wall. I love pictures like this because I blow it up and I never look here in the eye frame. That picture's an eye, right? She goes up and down in the middle. I like to look at what's here and here, more so like cheating cases. Like I get pictures all the time where it's like a guy, and I don't do these anymore, but when I did do cheating housewives and all that kind of stuff, and the one that sticks out in my mind, just for your viewers, it's kind of interesting and real quick, is a lot of people will take pictures and they'll grab that phone and they'll pull it way back here like this, and they have their fucking glasses on or their sunglasses, and
the reflection.
You can see the woman that the husband's with at the zoo. I did one where the husband took a picture of himself to show his wife, see, I'm here by myself, but he left his glasses on and he could see her best friend in the image of his glasses on the picture when we blew it up. And he was at the zoo. He wasn't at a company meeting. So you can tell a lot by what's in the background and the surrounding stuff on a photo. It fascinates me. I wish I was better at it.
No, I agree. Yes, that's I don't know. So yeah, those are some pictures, guys, for those of you who haven't seen her. Oh, wait, what did I just do? I removed you. Sorry, Vel. I accidentally removed you instead of my screen. There we go. All right.
I was backstage for a minute.
All righty. So that's her, guys.
So really, do you want to tell us about the rap star? Or are you going to keep that under wraps?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of it now. There is a rap star, and listen, guys, I'm 44 years old, you know. I mean, I still listen to Def Leppard, right? So I don't know a lot of the new rappers that are out there. Like, you know, I didn't even know Tupac was gone till like a week ago, right? Like, so what I did was I started getting phone calls that said that on her social media before she deleted it was a rap star named Moneybagg Yo. Moneybagg.
I told you, Zav, it was going to be a name like that.
Moneybagg Yo. There have been some reports that she hung out with him and his entourage in Chicago. Now, if you go to her Facebook page, Michaela's Facebook page, and the web sleuths out there, I'll give you this bit. This will keep you busy. If you go to her Facebook page, you will see her tagged in those photos. She told her family she was going to Chicago to hang out with her cousin. When I interviewed her cousin, who she did hang out with that weekend, and you could see that those pictures of her, and if you could find them, they're on her Facebook page. I believe it's either June or July, right around the 20th or 20 to the 23rd. It was either June or July. I don't have my notes in front of me. That she took pictures while she was in Chicago. She told her family she was going there to hang out with her cousin, which she did do a little bit. But the cousin described a couple of black guys in a big black SUV that were picking her up, might have even taken her to the airport. I had heard about this Moneybagg Yo before, and when I asked the cousin, who's a young white guy in his 20s, who these guys were, he described them, and guess who he described? Moneybagg Yo. So he saw him.
Okay.
He saw him. He just did not know who it was at the time, kind of like if, Hannah Montana walked in the room. I probably wouldn't know who she was.
Yeah. So wait, you said...
Can we see a picture of Moneybagg Yo? Is that naughty? Should we not do that?
Moneybagg Yo is, now I've got buddies that I played professional football with that are bodyguards for rappers. I've called a couple of them because I didn't know who Moneybagg Yo was. 90% of rap stars are full of shit. You know, they're not tough. They're not inner city thugs. Kanye West Kim Kardashian would beat Kanye West's ass.
Yes,
I promise
I
you
agree.
that. Okay. So most of these guys are they're characters. This guy is not.
Okay.
This guy is also with his entourage. Remember I told you earlier in the night she had an African-American friend who said I wouldn't hang around? The type of people. Yeah. This is the people she was referring to. These folks all know. And you know what? I'll give you something else that's interesting. We'll put politics into this. A couple of television stations have called me, and I've released some of these names. And what's interesting is at noon when I do the interview, Jason or Bryce from the television station interviews me. I get into Black Lives Matter. I talk about that she only hung around African-American basketball players, rappers, and celebrities the last 9 months of her life. And then it's, hold on, depending on what station it is, hold on, let me get my station manager. A couple hours later, I'll get a phone call, and this happened in both Columbus and the Miami Valley area with 2 stations. And all of a sudden, I've got a black anchor or a African-American woman or man that now wants to do the interview because they think that my story is going to change because I'm going to see a black reporter and not want to throw the black rappers or basketball players who they perceive to be under the bus. We have had 2 television interviews cut because when they found out that African-Americans and Black Lives Matter were involved in this, and that was the life-altering, life-changing experience that she had been experiencing, it wasn't the friends in school. It wasn't the friends that she grew up with. It was this new group. It was the fact that if you look at her social media, she says, I'm an outcast, Black Lives Matter. As soon as we put all that into this, a lot of those stations said, we're done. We don't want to cover it. These are all African-American basketball players? Yes, we're done. Is the rapper white? No, we're done. That's it. They did not want to make it look like those people had anything to do with it because of the way that their stations are run. I thought that was very interesting. One of the stations I had been talking to for 3 days, and I don't remember which one it was. I would give you the name if I did. And they says, oh my God, this is big. We're going to get this out there. So I started giving them names, and I said, I might not be able to get Alfonso Mckinney on the phone. I may not be able to get Moneybag Yo on the phone, but you guys can. Just tell them I want to talk to them. Hey, they may be able to help me. That doesn't mean these people kidnapped her. That doesn't mean that these people have anything to do. They might be able to tell me what her psyche was like in Chicago. I know they knew her. Let's play it that way and see where it goes. And the stations almost immediately. So one says, okay, we're going to get this out right away. The next day comes, it's not in the press. My name's not even mentioned. Neither is the father's story. And they interviewed him. They said, well, we couldn't do a missing persons case right now. We've got to kind of wait. And about an hour later was a missing 9-year-old African-American girl. And all of a sudden, Michaela was after that. The girl didn't go missing until that day. I had worked on the case 3 days before. But what some of these stations will do is they will wait because they don't want to piss off their viewers. And they will wait to do a black girl, then a white girl, then an Indian, then a Native American, then somebody from, then a Hispanic male, then a Hispanic female. They are very cognizant that they've got to make an even playing field. Michaela's story was delayed 3 days because they had to wait for a black person to go missing.
Wow.
You were saying that last time you were.
Very true. Depending on the station. And listen, I'm not on the right or the left. I didn't even vote. So, and I went to an HBCU. I was the only white college student at an all-black college out of 17,000. If you look into my history, I played college football at Clark Atlanta University. I was the only white student out of 17,000. I studied black history. And that pissed some of the black reporters off who went to white colleges because they couldn't tell you as much about this. And they didn't grow up around black people. I did. And that was kind of a unique contrast to what they were used to, which is why I deal with a lot of minority cases. And this involves all of them.
Wow. Do you think it's okay if I show a picture of Moneybag Yo or no?
Sure, why not? I'm telling you, I want to talk to him. I want to see a picture of him.
I mean, this is what comes up when I Google him. It's this guy right
That's
here.
Him.
Yeah.
I would love to hear from him. I would love for him to call and talk about his cousin, and he has I think a brother maybe. There's a cousin or a brother that I would like to speak to. And listen, he may be able to help us. He could be a big hero in all this, but we need to get a hold of him. That's him. And Pretty easy to describe that guy and be right on. Like I mean, that guy is pretty noticeable. He has some traits that stand out with tattoos. Now, I'll give you one other thing. The weekend, and I don't know what this has to do with anything. The weekend Michaela was in. Go back to the picture with him and his girlfriend. Moneybag Yo has a girlfriend. She is I think that's her. She is a major social media influencer. She was described to me as kind of like the Black Kim Kardashian, the Hood Kardashian, or whatever they called her. I don't know. Never heard of these people. But what's interesting is if you Google the story, they broke up the weekend Michaela was in town.
Whoa, that's wow.
They broke up for a few days. Pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, no, that is really interesting. Shoot.
There he is with what is probably obviously Pink Lemonade.
Look at the money, all the money. What?
Well, yeah, and then the jewels, it's always like that. It's like this is.
And listen, if any of those people on any of the other Facebook pages want to Venmo the money that this guy has in front of him to Michaela, I'm sure nobody will argue with that. Is that his girlfriend there?
It looks like the same. Yeah, it looks like the same girl.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of small on my screen. Yeah.
Oh, it's right here. Confirms relationship. Is her name Ariana Fletcher? Is that what you said?
I never said the name of the girl. I just know I don't have my notes in front of me. I know she's a social media influencer. He had a big time social media influencer girlfriend that they broke up with, and it made the papers right around the same time Michaela was in Chicago.
I don't even know who he is.
You probably wouldn't, but he is extremely popular with the younger crowd. But he's a little bit more harder edged. He's not Kanye.
Well, I like harder edged, but what state is he in?
He's from Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
Fox News heard about this and about shit their pants.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to look into him a little bit. Okay. Wow. Very interesting. I'm definitely going to dig into him and see if I could find anything. I don't know. I'm just curious.
Guys, this is all out there. The breadcrumbs are there. Look at Michaela's Facebook page. Look at the weekend that she was in Chicago. And I bet you could probably even look up his schedule as to where he was. The same weekend where she was. You could probably also look up where Alfonso Mckinney was during the NBA Finals, where she was, where James Blackman was, where she was. The breadcrumbs are there. If you web sleuths want to do something, why don't you go ahead and put together who she was with and when she was with them and backtrack my facts, backtrack my assumptions. And maybe you're better at that than I am, and give me a call.
Look at Holy Cats just said that December 4th, Moneybag. Oh, look, he has 2 G's in his name. I'm sorry, Moneybag. Yes. I didn't know that your name was done like that, but now we do. Moneybag Yo has a concert in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's and correct. Moneybag Yo, get a hold of Jim. If you don't want to get a hold of Jim, you can get a hold of Zav and maybe come on, and she might even play. If you don't strike her channel, she might play some of your music.
I do not believe Moneybag Yo is watching this right now, guys.
Don't ever doubt, Jim. Don't doubt.
That's
true. If he's with Michaela, possibly. I mean.
Yeah, I just know that they spent some time together. He knew who she was. There's a little bit more to the story, but it might be one of his relatives that she had an affinity for. She mentioned him a lot 2 or 3 weeks leading up to going to Chicago. She also mentioned a lot about him and talked about a lot, and all of his stuff on her social media had been deleted thereafter that weekend. So something happened.
Wow. Yeah, that's. Well, you said all of the stuff on her social media. What? Say that again?
She posted a lot of things on different aspects of her social media, TikTok, Facebook, a lot of things. Hey, going to Chicago. Can't wait to see Moneybag Yo. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And then a couple of weeks afterwards, she deleted everything that had to do with Moneybag Yo. We are actively looking for that stuff. That's another thing the police are going to look into, what was deleted.
Okay, I see. Wow, that's very interesting. Huh. Yeah, that might be very helpful to see what she's been deleting, what she deleted. Yes.
But these people on your channel are very good. Look at where Moneybag Yo was right around the time Michaela was in Chicago. That would help me out tremendously, and you have my number. You might tell me something I already know, but I'd like to have my math problem checked.
Yeah, I'll let you know if anybody reaches out to me, and then you have his numbers right here, guys. Jim's numbers
right there.
Do you guys have any other questions you want to ask him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if
do
you
it
just
now.
send me a picture of his butt, I know who you are.
Oh, you only got the butt?
Yeah, just a butt. I'll forward it to you, ladies.
I don't want it. Does it have hair on it?
I didn't examine it, but it you know what? Now that I'm looking at it, it might be a chick with a hairy butt. So I better wait. You know, like I said, I like to look into pictures. Somebody just texted me. So you have a very classy audience. But yeah, if you want it, I'll send it to you.
No, don't, please.
I'll put it on a T-shirt next time.
Oh wait, so somebody just sent you a picture of their own butt? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
I don't know. I haven't asked them
But
yet.
they just sent you a picture.
I was
We
just
don't
looking
know.
at a picture of a
It
butt.
might
I'm just hoping it's not mine.
But that if it was their own butt, that would be so talented.
I think it was Kiss My Ass, probably from one of the people we're talking about. That's how I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
From Moneybag Yo.
No. Somebody just texted me a picture on my phone, which my cell phone number is here, and it's a picture of a butt.
I was hoping it was his butt.
Yeah.
Because then you'd be like a step closer, you know.
I don't think Moneybag Yo is going to do that. But
Don't.
can you play his music on your show?
No, I don't want to take. No, probably.
You're not allowed to do that? Okay, I've never heard a song of his.
I'm sure I'd probably get a copyright strike, but
he would strike.
Yeah, but it might not even be him. It could be his manager, his producer, whatever.
Yeah.
He might not even see
And hey, listen, these guys may be heroes. They might be able to help me. I'm not saying that they do anything bad. I'm just saying I'd like to speak with them.
Definitely.
It's kind of interesting that a girl on paper that ran track at Cedarville, that went to Christian schools and did all this, all of a sudden is rubbing shoulders with these folks. You know, that's a giant step up in a 9-month turnaround. She was ascending in a lot of ways in social media platforms. You know, I mean, it wasn't LeBron James and it wasn't, P. Diddy, but she was on her way up. And that's why a lot of people believe that she's alive and she's waiting for this thing to explode so she can walk out. And then other people are like, hey, listen, maybe somebody did something really bad with her. The car is the big issue, though. It hasn't popped up yet.
Yeah,
that's true.
Man.
Personal Jesus, what do you mean? And why are you saying that? And
there's a guy in the chat room named Personal Jesus.
Yeah, maybe likes Depeche Mode.
Oh.
Wait, where? Oh, this. Aww.
It's one of your groupies.
But he might be right.
That could, you're very open.
He needs to tell me what I'm full of shit on. That's what I'd like to know. Be a little bit more specific there, Personal Jesus.
Yes. Please let us know how he's full of poop.
And I'll answer any question. I mean, if you think I'm wrong on something, if I'm wrong, I'll tell you. Hey, listen, I've been wrong a hell of a lot. It's admitting when you're wrong.
Yeah. True. I'm trying to see if there is any questions.
Yeah.
Oh, here, let's see. It says, where does Jim think is the most likely location she would be now? Is there flyers we can print and hang? I'm in Chicagoland and have family in Milwaukee.
Those are two cities I would be very interested in. The other one would be Los Angeles. Just because there was so much. The problem is there's a plate reader, and we have not had her plates hit anywhere. And for her to go from Columbus to Los Angeles and her plates not be hit would be very, very difficult, if not impossible.
I wonder if somebody put a different license plate on it, though.
I've seen people flip plates. I've seen, I've seen that happen. But now Michaela would have to be stealing a plate and flipping a plate, and a plate would have already been called in as stolen, and then they would have seen the car, and the cops are on this pretty good. So I mean, that is possible. You know what I mean? But then that it's probably more plausible that the car got driven somewhere, parked in a garage, and just hasn't moved for a while. Or it's somewhere parked at an airport, or it's parked at a storage unit. I've seen all these type of avenues, and then they pick them up. If I was her and I wanted to go hide out somewhere, I would park my car somewhere nobody would see it. I'd call an Uber or a Lyft, or I'd call the person and I'd have them come get me, or them send me an Uber and a Lyft, which is how I found Gloria Alvarado, and I would get to their house and I'd hang out. I mean, it's only been 30 days. People hung out in their house for a year and a half with the pandemic. You're walking around with a mask on. You got a hat on. I just think once the press hits and this thing gets out there, she is too attractive and too high profile of a girl not to be noticed. We talked about this on your show. The more attractive you are, the harder it is to hide. You get a really good looking chick on an airplane, everybody's turning around trying to talk to her next to them. If you get a good looking girl broke down on the side of the road, you got 10 guys trying to change your car tire. If I get broke down on the side of the road, AAA blows past me.
Leeds Scott wants to know, did she have her phone and ID?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So she has her ID.
No,
Yeah.
she
Okay.
took it all with her, to my knowledge, as well as the car. The car's insurance has run out. She did not pay the car insurance.
Okay. Okay.
Car
So yeah,
insurance
she
run
probably
out,
isn't
yeah.
driving that. Okay.
She's driving without car insurance right now. If
Or it
she's
could be
driving.
parked somewhere. Yeah.
So in the state she's from, in Ohio, when car insurance runs out, does that, because in Los Angeles, in
You can get your
California,
license suspended.
okay, wow,
Yeah, same thing in Florida. I don't know all the different rules with the licenses, but yeah, from what we have not found anything of hers that she left behind. And I've worked cases where they left the purse behind, the phone behind, and they're gone, and that's scary. She took everything with her. Like I said, and the one question I have for your audience is, I would like to know what that means. If I call somebody and her personal cell phone, it goes right to voicemail, and then I FaceTime her and it rings off the hook. Why is that?
I'm going to experiment with that a little bit. Yeah, because that's interesting. I'm going to try it a couple of different ways and see what does that mean? Like, I think you might be onto something. I mean, maybe she is using the phone for Wi-Fi, which would be good, or somebody else is using her phone for Wi-Fi. I mean, it still doesn't mean it's her, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, this is a question I got a lot, and people kind of crucified me on this one. I see the one that's coming in now. The last person she was with was a close personal friend of hers, a younger African-American guy who does some personal training. He was very helpful. Police have spoken to him. I have spoken to him. He also borrowed and used her car for 2 months. He picked her up, from what I understand, at the airport and brought her back, and she got in her car and left. So he comes up quite a bit, and I've talked to him. He's been very helpful. He also got me in contact with people that hung around her a lot that her family wasn't very familiar with. One of the guys that I spoke to, the guy that picked her up, was a very close friend of hers. He has met the family. He has been in contact with the family. He's been very easy to get a hold of. He also gave us names of some other people. I spoke to these people. These people were seen with her at pizza places that she worked at. She worked at a pizza place for about a week, at a nail salon. I have talked to other friends of hers that were friends with the guy that picked her up at the airport. They even told me stories about going to her apartment complex, which she was evicted from, within the first moving her in. I spoke to the people that moved her into the Lux apartment. She did not have that much stuff, and she did not have electricity. And they told me about sleeping on the floor and having nothing but a cell phone with music playing. That was the only entertainment, and that she didn't want to be alone. So I know people, and I've spoke with people that stayed with her in her apartment that she was evicted from. And they stayed there for a couple of nights and said there was not even food in the refrigerator. They also said that she seemed to be a little bit scared and didn't want to stay by herself. Maybe that has something to do with something that happened in Chicago. I'm not sure.
Wow. Huh.
So I'm very aware of who that person is, and I'm sorry, I just don't want to splash all his information out here, because he's been vetted, and he has nothing to do with her missing disappearance. Nothing.
So she lived alone then at that when she disappeared. She didn't have any roommates.
She had roommates previously to the place that she moved into, and I've spoken with 2 of the 4 girls at that place. Those were the 4 hot chicks I referred to. It was 2 white girls, 2 black girls, and I've got some video of that place. I have some footage that I took from there that I've sent to the police that I think is extremely interesting. I can't get into that right now. That's some of the stuff for the next show. We're a little bit ahead of you. That's stuff that I'm not releasing. But I have some videos of inside the apartment in which she had an argument with the roommate, which led her to get her own place, which is the place we're talking about now. So no, the most recent place she had, there was no roommate, but she did have a couple of people stay over there. And yes, I've asked them if they had sex, if they were a couple, and they were not. And I know that for a fact. Okay. One of them's not really into women.
Okay. All right.
There was, and you clarified this last time you were on, but for those who hadn't seen it, her ex-husband.
Yeah.
Tell us about him and if he's cleared and your impression.
He hasn't spoke to her in a long, long time. He told me the questions I had, he was very cooperative, spoke with him for 45 minutes, also spoke with his father several times, which would have been the ex-father-in-law. He admitted that they had a rocky relationship. He talked about her mental stability. He talked about going with her to a hospital. That's disputed by the family as to whether or not he was allowed there. There was a an argument that ensued right around the first time she went to the hospital, and he did not come to see her for the first 2 days. So, but there was never any physical abuse. The police were never called to their house. He didn't beat her up. And I see these assholes putting their wedding registry out there and photos and stuff like that. It really doesn't help. I've spoken to him. He was very cooperative, but as you can imagine, and listen, people crucified him because it looked like he was married 4 months after they were divorced. That's come up on this show and other shows. And I spoke with his mom as well, her ex-husband's mom, the ex-mother-in-law, who, by the way, is a nurse. And the woman that he married, he knew his senior year in high school. They were high school sweethearts. So this wasn't some new fling. And she had already moved on before the divorce was final and had spent
Michaela.
a week. Yes, Michaela had already moved on and spent a week with a guy that was kind of looked at as a boyfriend in Kentucky. And she was actually staying with the mother-in-law while they were going through their divorce at some period. So she had already moved on. So even though the ink wasn't, they hadn't signed the divorce papers, she had already moved on. He had already moved on. So it looks like he got married to somebody brand new. Michaela did not know his new wife. They have never met. And he had not messed around with her while they were still technically in their marriage before the separation. He is as squeaky clean and as nice as it can be. And I feel bad for the shit that people have put him through, no matter what kind of a guy he is, calling his work, texting his boss. I mean, there was no reason for that. He hadn't seen her in a long time.
It's sad that people
And I
do
think,
that.
yeah, it is. And you clarified that last time, and I hope that put a lot of rumors to rest. But I think that most of the people were thinking that because of things that Michaela had put, especially on her TikTok. You know, she had said a lot of things about being unhappy in the marriage, and
most people that get divorced are unhappy in marriage.
Right.
But, you know, that's the beautiful thing about this case. That's why I can't be pinned down on anything. And that's why I can't say anything for certain other than the things I do know for certain. So, for example, if you look at her videos, she said she was in an abusive relationship. She said that she's finally going to heal, that all this stuff. She also said she had a manager. She also listed and said that she had an agent. She also said that she went to these places for modeling gigs. She also told her family that she was going to visit her cousin, never mentioned Moneybag Yo. She never mentioned Alfonso Mckinney to people in Milwaukee. When I asked her father about Milwaukee, I said, "Did you not know your daughter was hanging around at the NBA Finals?" He said, "You know what? Now that you mention it, I look at my text messages. She said she was driving through Milwaukee and happened to get stuck in traffic and met some NBA players." That's what she told him. And that's just not true. That's the same way that a high school kid would say, "I'm going to go study over Jennifer's house," and she spends the night at her boyfriend's. That kind of thing. And this is from a 26-year-old woman. So that's how I was able to verify that she was in Milwaukee. So she gave you a little bit of truth. So was she abused in her relationship? Maybe. Was there some verbal abuse? Possibly. They're divorced. It couldn't have been good, right? But what I can tell you is that she also said things like, "I'm going to," she was holding up lipstick or eyeliner, and she says, "If you get a hold of me, I'll have my manager send this to you." I called her father. I said, "She has a manager? Who is this guy? Who is this woman?" She doesn't have a manager. She also said that she was tormented in her family. She felt like an outcast because she was really into Black Lives Matter. Her family never had a political discussion about Black Lives Matter with her ever. So you don't know what to believe.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's kind of seems like her theme in that, and this is just my opinion, that maybe she gives a little bit of truth with everything she says, and then that's concerning if she's saying, "I have a manager," or "I have," because sometimes, especially here in LA, a lot of girls' managers and their modeling gigs are escort services. And they're like, someone could say they're a manager and appear to be a manager. And maybe if you're naive, and I don't think she's necessarily naive, but they could like basically tell you the lie to tell your family, like to make it okay. So that the outward appearance is like, "No, I have a manager and I'm doing a modeling contract for blankety blank." And that is kind of an LA, and it's probably not exclusive to LA. You said that, Vegas kind of, it's, but it is a thing that pretty people come to LA to be models. and have
Or
managers.
actresses or my brother runs a production company out there. He makes a lot of those low-level B-type movies with like vampires. He did a movie. My brother produced and directed a movie called I got to think of it. It's called what is it called? Live Evil, the movie. Live Evil. He did that. My brother's been in movies as a stuntman and stuff. And I called him about this, and he said, "Jim, with all due respect, 26 years old. She's already old." He goes, "Out here, we got 19-year-old girls that come out here that can sing, that are classically trained in dance and acting." He says, and they're fresh new faces. They're 14, 15, 16 years old. He says, 26 years old. He said, "Jim, this is an example of the hot chick in a small town who comes to LA, and there's a whole hell of a lot of these girls working at Hooters." He said that to me. And he goes, "Unfortunately, as you know, in LA, I went to college my freshman year in Long Beach. You're out there. My brother lives in Playa del Rey. He's in the industry out there. He's not, Brad Pitt. He's not, one of the big time. He's, but he's a working actor. He's in SAG and he's a producer of movies." And he said, "This girl," he goes, "there is tons of these girls scattered all over the road here in Los Angeles. I think that this is a girl that was probably looking for a lot of different avenues to find a ground-based." Like I said, how many different jobs did she mention she wanted to get into in the course of about 2 months?
And she's a beautiful girl that actually could, LA Fitness would probably hire her because but there's better places in LA Fitness that would pay her more money, that are that type of, if she wanted to get into fitness. But yeah, I am very immature. At 26, I was very immature for my age. I'm still very immature for my age. I can relate to that.
Well, people from Cedarville, Ohio, who watch television don't realize the competitive nature when you go to Los Angeles to read for a part and you see 50 girls or 150. I had a buddy that opened a Hooters up in Gainesville, Florida. He had Gainesville, where the University of Florida is. You know Hooters, the restaurant. This is years ago. And him and the other guys that opened it up, they were going to hire, I think, 100 employees. 60 of them were waitresses. They had 10,000 girls apply to be Hooters waitresses part-time. And they had like a runway to bring these girls in next, and every single one of them was a 10. And it was just a matter of, and that was Gainesville, Florida, at the University of Florida, where there's 40,000 people on campus. 10,000 women applied for 60 positions at a Hooters. Can you imagine if Tom Cruise is doing a movie and they need a part read and it calls for a 20-year-old brunette? How many women are going to show up and read for that? How competitive and what people are willing to do to get their foot in the industry door? You understand that because you're in LA. You don't understand that in Cedarville, Ohio, or Valdosta, Georgia. You just don't understand that.
Can you read that question, Jim? I think that's possible.
Yeah, it was directed towards you, I believe. Is it possible she is in involuntary psych check? See, I get this one a lot. And that's very possible. If she is right now in some sort of a mental health facility in Utah or in Miami, they are not calling the police. They can't. There's been some cases that I've had, one in Utah where a guy skipped bond from Texas and went to Utah, and I knew he was there. He was actually working as a cook. And the bounty hunters were after him because he had skipped bond. The police wanted to talk to him, but he was not. His parents were oil attorneys, but his parents couldn't find him. So they hired me, and I found him, or what I thought he was working, because he was using a debit card in and around this mental health facility. He was still using his debit card to withdraw cash in Utah. So what I did was I called the place, and they said, whether or not he's here, we can't tell you. So what I did was I paid one of the receptionists a few bucks, and he called me. I Venmo'd him or Cash Apped him some money and PayPal'd him some money, and he took a picture of the guy. And I knew he was there. But what was interesting is even though he was missing and wanted by the police, they could not call down there and say that he was in the mental health facility. So that's how I was able to show his parents he's alive and well and he's up there. And then they went up there and he was able to see his parents. And that's how we found him. So, yeah, that's very possible that she's in a mental health facility in New York, and they're not allowed to even tell the military that she's there. They're not allowed to do that. That's a very good point.
Wow. And that's something that we brought up last time too, is that there was someone in LA, a very beautiful woman who went missing, and she was very similar to Michaela in that her social media was Kashawn Sims, and she had a mental break because of COVID and everything that was going on, and she was found in a hospital. She had gone to a hospital. The last place she was seen was going into the hospital saying that her stomach hurt. She hadn't called her family. She's close with her sisters. Didn't call her sisters. Didn't call any of her friends. Went to a hospital, and everyone was like, "Why would she go to a hospital and not call her family?" I don't remember exactly how long she was missing. I feel like it was maybe 2 months, and they found her in a hospital, and she's safe and getting help. And that's a hopeful thing for somebody. We've had great, I mean, obviously there could be other things that have happened to Michaela, and Jim's trying to find out, what's going on. But it would be hopeful with all of the stuff that we see that she has going on, that maybe she could be safe.
Yeah, that would be a good.
That has been talked about with me and the family. And unfortunately, there's so many possibilities. You see what I have to grapple with. So any help I can get from anybody that has a little piece here or there that makes us understand her. But you got to understand, 21 days ago, the family had no idea she had friends like this. They thought she was getting modeling jobs. They thought she was in the military, and they weren't even aware of her social media presence. They really weren't. And they got their own lives. Like I said, some of her siblings are in, one of her brothers is in a medical program, right? He's becoming a doctor. Like he's taking, medical courses at the University of Cincinnati. I mean, he's a pretty booked guy when it comes to he's trying to become a doctor. So, he's in the middle of working on his degree, and, he's having to deal with this.
Katie says, I just want to clear this up and get the answer from you. She says, from what he said, she's obviously accepting money through Venmo. It shows when you accept the money. Same with Cash App. So can you go over that again? Does it show it to the public,
or does it show it to the two people that did it? If I send you money, we both know whether or not you got it. If I'm looking at her account, which is open, can I see if she accepted that? That's the difference. You see where I'm coming from?
I don't know. I don't have
those ladies down there got her to accept that money. They'd been all over the place with it. And if they did, they need to call the police immediately.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or they should have had us do it, or called us and told us what they were doing. See, that's the difference. They're in some sort of a race that I'm not in.
And Michaela can stay can stay wherever she is as long as she checks in. It's just that her family's so worried.
The military would like to speak with her. See, that's the only reason this is to the degree that it is. They put out the press release first. And I've spoken with her staff sergeant, who said, hey, listen, we'll let her out of it. There's enough here where there's obviously some divide. We'll let her out of it. That's not a reason she should stay missing. They're not going to throw her in a military prison. We've already spoke with them and got it worked out. So as a private investigator, you just try to soften the blow and cushion it. Hopefully you get lucky and you find them. Right. Or they contact you. See, that's another thing. I'm another avenue. I'm not the police. I'm not her family. If she wants nothing to do with her family, if she's scared of the cops and hates them, if she doesn't want anything to do with the military, she can get a hold of me and we can figure something out.
I hope she does. So Libra said Venmo shows in a private message bubble if the person has accepted the funds, but only the person that sends it, right? So would you... Yeah, I mean, if they know she accepted it, they better be getting a hold of somebody.
I'll tell you what people need to do is send me $500 right now and I'll tell you. I'll let you know real quick whether or not you can tell.
Oh, yeah, I don't have Venmo, so I don't.
What did we do before Venmo? And what's the other one people call me for? They always want to pay me.
PayPal is a good one.
Zelle.
Oh. Well, Zelle it has to be through your bank.
Yeah. Okay, so Zelle's a little bit more legitimate?
Zelle's legitimate because it's like bank to bank, usually.
Okay. Bitcoin is another one people want to pay with a lot of, different cryptocurrencies. You know what I mean? The ones that infuriate me are when somebody goes missing and they put up a GoFundMe right away. That bugs me. When there's a GoFundMe right away, it bugs me a little bit. Like, it just, there's a couple of steps you should take before that, but they go missing at 1:00 on a Thursday. And by Saturday morning, there's $500 from relatives and family in a Venmo. I mean, in a what's that called? In, their GoFundMe accounts. I think there's some other ones there too. That's a little bizarre to me.
Yeah.
Kibby wants to know, why can't Jim have the father call all the mental places?
Where do we start? And they don't have to tell him. If the father calls a mental place down the street, and I've tricked a couple of places. So I've called a couple of places and said, is she there? If she is not there, it is not breaking the HIPAA law to tell you she's not there. Where you can kind of trick these places, if you're smart enough and you work it right, is to say, is she there? We can't tell you if she's here or not. Well, she wasn't, you could tell me, and it wouldn't be breaking any laws. You follow me? Like right now, I can say that you two women are not at the mental health facility in Columbus, and I've broken no laws. But if you're there, I've got to word it a little bit different. The problem is she can be anywhere from Columbus to LA. There's probably 15 of these places within 150 miles of her house. Where do you call? Needle in a haystack. The only way this gets done, other than breaking into the social media and the phones, which I've been told to stand down on, and I've showed you how I could do that, is for the press to get out there, and some neighbor of a place she's staying will call. Some coworker of the guy that she's hanging around. Somebody will say, well, listen, this car's been parked outside of our convenience store for 3 or 4 weeks now, or somebody like that will come forward. What's very interesting about this case is my phone number's flashed everywhere. I have not had one sighting of this woman. Usually I get some fake ones, or, hey, listen, this looks like my sister's best friend. She was just over here the other day, and I look into it. I've had not one, nor has the family or the police have one sighting of her. I thought that was extremely interesting for a girl this good looking.
And so the car.
The car. But that could be bad. That could be a bad news, though, really. That you haven't had one sighting. I mean, that could be a bad thing, but I don't know. I guess.
So you guys, the car's a 2016 Dodge Charger. It's silver, right? Not gray, right?
Charcoal. So yeah, the dealership had a name for it, but it's the one that you see out there. It's the standard color that it came in, whatever that is, gray or charcoal. They have some sort of industry name for it.
So it's like kind of a darker gray, because
yeah.
Okay.
I was told it was called charcoal, but it's out there. The people can Google the car. There's photos of it out there.
Okay. So, and it's going to have, if it has the right plates, it's going to have what, Ohio plates?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm trying to find that video where I could show it.
I can never drive the car. She let a friend borrow the car for 2 months. So there was a lot of people that saw that car with the guy that picked her up from the airport while she was in the basic training and doing this other stuff. She let him borrow that car. He made some payments on that car for her while he was using it. It was a pre-owned vehicle. I've even talked to the people that owned it before her.
And you're saying that guy is clear. I mean, you don't have any suspicion on him?
No, he's been very cooperative.
Okay. No. Oh, that's so cute.
Look at that. Is there 2 dogs there? What's their names? Like Mickey and Minnie? Did you do one of those things?
Holiday and Siren.
Okay, that's good. All right, yeah,
she has 3 though, actually.
You go with like Thelma and Louise. You're not one of those people. Yeah, look at that.
It's Holiday.
I love it. Look at those good-looking dogs.
They're my seniors.
What do you two think happened here? I mean, you got to go to Vegas and place a bet.
I don't want to place a bet on this one. I mean, originally I thought, there was some foul play until then I talked to you, but I don't know what I would bet on. What about you, Bella? What would you bet on? Or what do you think?
I guess, to be optimistic, I'm hoping that she went to LA, or she tried to go to LA, and that somebody, after talking today, though, I'm actually a little bit more disturbed. I don't know. I really hope she didn't get mixed up in escorting service. I really hope that that's not what happened, because sometimes, depending on, I don't know how to say this. I don't actually want to say this with our family watching.
Okay. I'm gonna remain optimistic to try to, but gosh, as more and more time passes, it's like how long can she hide out and not
The
be on
average
social
case
media?
takes me 31 days. In my career, it's 31 days. And I'm about at 16.
Well, I hope that
so
you stay on track with that, and that Michaela is found within your 31 days. Because
yes.
And nobody's in any trouble here. All she has to do, including her, all she has to do is reach out to somebody. If she doesn't want to reach law enforcement, call the military. If she doesn't want to reach the military, call law enforcement. She doesn't want to reach any of them. Then there's too much missing here. The tough people to find are the ones that leave their phone, their purse, their wallet behind. They don't have much family. The family can't hire a private investigator. They don't get much press because there's just some people that don't look as good on TV, right? I mean, this girl sticks in your mind when you see her, right? And they walk away without a vehicle. They didn't have a job. They weren't running away from the military. This girl has a hell of a lot of people looking for her. I'm just a mouthpiece on your show. I'm just one spoke in the wheel. So this family has done this the right way. You know what I mean? But not having any sightings. Listen, she obviously is the type of person, if she is gone on her own, knows that she needs to be hidden, right? She's doing it intentionally. If she's not found, she's doing it intentionally, and she's really good at it. Some of the toughest people to find are the ones with mental health issues, especially if they got people willing to help her.
And I don't want this is what I don't want to say this, but like I just feel like I have to put it out there. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but it just kind of reminds me of this. And we always put our own personal spin on everything, right? In every situation, you're always going to take something that you know of and you're going to apply it to everything you look at. And so in my experience, I had a very beautiful friend who, and this is when I was 21 and she was getting too old for modeling, and she fell in with the wrong crowd, all of a sudden decided that she wanted a different type of guy than what she was used to. And she joined what she thought was a legitimate escort service, which was a 180 from what she used to be. And talk about discipline. The guy disciplined her. If he didn't want her using a phone, she didn't use a phone. If he didn't want, like at that time it was pagers. He took her clothes from time to time, and she didn't have clothes to wear, so she couldn't leave the house, right, unless she wanted to run around naked. And she had her so spun that she thought it was always her fault. So if she did something wrong, what he considered wrong, and she came from a very good family. Actually, her brother was then involved in the Jesse James murder case that they made a movie out of. They were at her parents' house when all that happened. But her dad was an amazing father. For some reason, the kids went a little bit off after a little bit, but that's what I'm kind of thinking. And that does exist here. It probably exists in a lot of places where there's people that take advantage of, and there's also girls that think that they're going to get in and make a lot of money. Because she was telling me for a little bit, like, you should get into this, Bella, like you need to do this, like, you know how much cash you can make. I was like, no, I'm good, thanks, good here. But that's just what it kind of reminds me of, like
there's a lot of similarities between this and what you just said. A lot of it sounds like these stories have patterns. I found people that were, I don't want to use the word sex traffic because that's kind of a buzz deal, but it's popular on TV. Everybody's sex trafficked, right? But they were working for somebody who was involved in, I don't want, not high level escorting or prostitution, but right around there. And the family wanted this girl found. She was of legal age. And we were able to find her in another state working truck stops. We actually did it with a CB. You know, CB? citizens ban. A lot of kids don't even know what that is. Like, you could talk into a CB and talk to other cars. Kind of like people right now are like, what do you mean by paging somebody? What the fuck is that? So even before a pager, there was a CB, and we used the CBs to talk to truckers at a casino truck stop. And that was how we were able to find this girl. She came home and her parents said, okay. And, she wasn't too beat up and she wasn't too psychologically screwed up. And then when she found out that she had to go work at Arby's for a couple of weeks, she went right back to it because the money was so much better. I have found people that went back to those people because the money was so much better. How do I work at Arby's all day? I made $64. I can make this in 2 tricks in about 30 minutes at the Flying J.
Yeah.
If FaceTime is ringing, then her phone isn't dead. But if her phone is turned off, is she using Wi-Fi? See, the police and the detectives and everything, once the social media and all that is cracked into, which I still wish I could do it. But they're going to figure this out pretty quick. I think they're going to figure this out pretty quick. So the sugar, as I say, is going to run out of the Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah, I'm on mute. Okay. I hope you're right. I hope they do.
If you guys have any more questions, fire away. If not, I'm sure your audience is way sick of me.
Sugar babe Canine Handler says, ask Mr. Hottie. So Mr. Hottie, if he has looked into sugar babes, just a thought.
First of all, we have to figure out who Mr. Hottie is.
That's you. She's talking.
Oh, that's me? Okay. Then we definitely need to give Canine Handler some glasses. There was, and I was not going to mention this, but because she asked,
you got called a hottie.
Well, no, I mean, come on, guys, it's just another Wednesday for me. But what I was going to tell you was there was a site where you can put a little more scandalous photos and people can go to it. It has a name. It was mentioned in one of her social media posts. Somebody asked her about her page and they said, are you on
OnlyFans?
What is it called?
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. She commented, okay, I wasn't going to bring this up, but fuck it. There was an OnlyFans reference on one of her social media things. So she's sitting there talking to her fans online. Right? Her fans, the people that are following her on social media. She's doing the things with the lips. She's putting lipstick on. She's talking to them. And somebody questions her OnlyFans page and references it, that she had one. And if you go out there, you guys, I think, even have that video. And she references it. And that kind of, because I think you got to pay to be on there, but you can't surf for her. You can't find her. You just kind of got to know where that page is. Like, you can't go through a database and look for her because her picture wouldn't be on there. There has been some references that she may have one of those pages.
Okay. Wow. I wonder if that's active. You should try to look into that and find it.
Nailed it.
What's that?
Canine Handler, who's the one that asked that question. And I'm wondering, is Sugar Babes just a thought? Is that one of those type of sites?
Yeah, it is. There's like, I don't know if it's called Sugar Babe. Is it called Sugar Babes Canine Handler? But I know that there's a few sites that are like Sugar Babes looking for daddies, and then like Sugar Daddies looking for Sugar Babes.
And let me be very clear about the escorting thing with Michaela Nelson here. The conversations that I've had with people in reference to her is that there was a woman who was talking to her about escorting in the cities that she was in. She was not escorting in these cities. I do not want to make it sound like she was turning tricks in Chicago or whatever, but there was people that have asked her. And I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that get asked to do that have no intentions of doing it. What I'm saying is it's a lead we have to run down. Does that make more sense and clear that up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Thanks, Ships Cat KLM. Thank you. Oh, look, Jim being coy. All righty.
I think everyone likes you, Jim.
Not everybody. Believe me, the guy who just sent me the picture of his ass is not a fan.
Well, I wonder if it was a girl that sent you the picture of her husband's butt, because our viewership isn't it, Zav, like mostly female?
So her husband likes me?
Well, I want to know whose butt it is. Can you guys just tell us who sent
I
the butt
know,
picture?
but it's probably nobody that's even chatting because not everybody. I mean, some people are just watching and they're not actually.
You know what? It's actually my uncle in West Virginia. I'm sorry, it wasn't one of your listeners at all. That was my uncle.
Oh,
Boy, did I
gosh.
fuck that up.
Wait, why
That
is your uncle
is
sending a
No,
picture?
I'm joking. It was
Oh,
not.
I just.
No, it was not my Uncle Gary. Although he would be the one I
And
would.
then he drops the
pin.
name.
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I would definitely. Well, he's a used car guy, so you can't put anything past him.
And then says what he does for a living.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
last name
God.
too.
He's
Oh,
deer hunting right now in Pennsylvania. If you want to know the truth.
no.
Don't go looking for his
Oh,
Uncle Gary.
God.
He's innocent.
There are a lot of people
Anybody that
asking.
wants to run into Uncle Gary, God bless him. Roll the
There are
dice.
a lot of people asking for if you could go dig into some other cases, but that's why he has his number up there, so you guys could reach out
Listen,
to him and
I made
ask.
this offer before. If anybody on your station here that's watching it has an ex high school sweetheart they can't find, or if they want me to run a background check on a neighbor, give me a call. I'll do it. I don't have a problem doing that.
Okay.
You know,
Wow.
because you're letting me on this show. It's you know, a lot of people think that this is self-promotion, and maybe it is. You know, most of my business is word of mouth. I can stand up here and self-promote all I want. I only handle one case at a time. So all you jackasses that are like, this guy is self-promoting, it's not going to do me any good until this case is over with.
Well, that's true. You probably will get some phone calls. Hey, I might reach out sometime if I could see myself needing you to look into somebody sometime.
You would be very surprised. Even the people that, I had a buddy, I was playing a sport called arena football, and our a guy that worked for the team looked like Uncle Fester. Now, when I went to private investigating college or school, I did it at night courses at a place called Hillsborough Community College in Tampa, Florida. My mom was in her drop, which means her last year if she was an English teacher. And I taught elementary school when I first got out of college. I had emotional and physically handicapped kids. So I was, believe it or not, an elementary school teacher for a short time before I got into pro football. And my mom said, well, I'll go to private investigating school with you. And if you open up a business, that way you have somebody and whatever. And we thought it was, she thought it was going to be a lot like she saw on TV. I'm not old enough to remember Magnum PI and all that kind of stuff, but she referenced it, right? So Spencer for Hire, I think that was the one I kind of remembered as a kid. He was I think a private investigator. Kojak, I thought I was wrong. Matlock, none of them were. But so my mom took the private investigating courses with me in college, in the school, and we did it for 2 weeks. And so she didn't last long in the industry, though. And in the state of Florida, you have to work under somebody for 2 years as an intern before you could have your own license, which is why I moved my license to Mississippi so fast. And I went up there and I opened up the business and worked full time immediately. There is states right now where you two can go and get a business license and you're licensed private investigators. Wyoming and Idaho are two of them. So is South Dakota. Right now, you two can go and make your own name in South Dakota, and you could have your own business license, and you guys are private investigators, and you could even charge as long as the case originates in that state.
We don't even have to step foot in that state.
No, I haven't been in Mississippi in quite some time. It's where my business license is. I've told some of these web sleuths that. I says, go to Mississippi, go to Idaho, Alaska, South Dakota, and Wyoming are the 4 states that are still left where you can become a private investigator legally with only a business license.
Wow.
But if he starts in Idaho and then the girl runs to Georgia, or if there's other states where if you work under an attorney, you can work as a private investigator right away, but you're under the attorney's license. So my mom went to private investigating school with me, and that's how I started this business. But I only work one case at a time. So the self-promotion part of it, whatever that means, is null and void because I'm not taking any work until this girl's found.
All righty.
Can you read that? You have to squint.
Yeah. It says, is his sense of humor, or is that humor? His sense of humor.
I can't tell if you're joking or
I know.
Humor, or is that making all these ladies fall for him? Yeah, if that happens, it would be the first time. So, yeah. Who asked that?
Shiny Catcher Christie.
Okay.
She's one of our
How many
regulars.
people are on your station right now watching this? How many people at one time? A couple hundred, couple thousand?
Right now, a couple hundred, but usually I'll get, you know, a couple thousand in the end. But right now there's 221 in this moment. Seeking arrangement is also.
I'm very aware of that. There used to be Adult Friend Finder and all those. I have a feeling this was something a little bit more off the cuff that they were trying to persuade her to kind of be in. I don't think this was a giant conglomerate. There was a case I worked with a girl named Linda Friday, porn star, who was also an escort for celebrities. She was from Canoga Park. Do you know where that is in Los Angeles?
Very close to me.
Okay.
And it's also very close to Chatsworth, which is the porn capital.
She lived in Chatsworth, which was all the porn stuff. So she had schizophrenia, and I had to find her. She was from Oregon. She was one of the celebrities. She was considered a celebrity case. She was in over 200 films, most of which I couldn't. Because I remember when I found her, she was 4'11". So she ran a couple of different times, and she had an ex-husband that was trying to look for her and a daughter. So Linda Friday was her name, and she had some mental issues, but she was on all those sites. There was Danny.com back in the day and a bunch of them, but she had high-level people. In fact, one time her and I were even at a party, and I met a guy there, and it was her boyfriend, and they were kind of dating at the time. This is how this got me into the celebrity stuff as a private investigator. And I was there with her, and I met this guy, and he just looked squeaky clean. Like, he looked like if you touched him, he would smear. And I met him, and I bullshitted with him. He was a very good-looking guy, right? I mean, this guy was a somebody, and this is, God, years ago. So I'm bullshitting with him, and I says, well, how do you know her? How do you know Linda Friday? Her real name is Elysia. How do you know Elysia? And he says, oh, we date a little bit and all this kind of shit. So a couple of months goes by, and I'm at a party or something, and there's a movie on, and it was fucking Josh Duhamel. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
His girlfriend, or at the time, was a singer named Fergie. And if you look at Fergie and you look at Linda Friday, they almost look alike, except one's built a little badder than the other. And that was
Josh, he was on that Vegas show, huh? Are you talking about the actor?
Josh Duhamel, that's who it was.
I know who that is.
And he wasn't really that famous at the time, but he was, his wife or his girlfriend was who they have children with now, who is Fergie.
Yeah.
So I've been able to track down some of these people, but they were all meeting these people on those type of sites that were a little higher level than like Sugar Bear or whatever. These were people that would spend $5,000 to $10,000 a night. So it was really interesting work. My mom was actually much better at it than I was, as far as being able to track down porn stars.
Wow.
Track them down, like find them if they were missing.
Crazy.
Yeah, the porn star was missing. Yeah, that was.
But other ones, like
Linda Friday was missing, and then when I found her, I got to hang out with her a little bit, and I said, "Well, how does somebody like you go missing, and why?" And so there was a lot of celebrities. She also was seeing, dating at the time. God, he was in a movie where he was a adult male escort gigolo. Rob Schneider.
Yeah.
Dating Rob Schneider too. I met him. He's Asian.
Brothers met him. Yeah.
He's Filipino or something. He's about this tall. He's only about 2 foot tall. Rob Schneider. So I bumped into a lot of those people, but most of the people that I worked for in the past that are celebrities want me to find things, not persons. A Super Bowl ring, a comic book. One of the biggest cases that was out there was Nicolas Cage. He lost the first Superman comic book, which I think was valued at the time at a couple of $1 million. He lost it in a storage unit. And some people have recognized me. I was on a couple of episodes of a television show in Los Angeles called Storage Wars.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, and that show is complete bullshit. They put all that stuff in a lock.
Yeah, I heard that actually. I saw like
pro wrestling. It's staged.
Yeah. It looks so staged.
Yeah. Nobody is leaving a chest full of gold coins in a $40 a month rental unit somewhere in Lancaster, California. Yeah, in Inglewood. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way. So that paid about $160 a week.
That's it?
To be on that show? Yeah, it wasn't even. It was like extra work. Yeah, it was just neat to be on it. And I never realized how popular it was until my parents' friends started. They call me Jimmy. Is that Jimmy in the background of Storage Wars?
What's he
doing with that
doing?
mattress?
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to go try to watch. Yeah, what did you do for them?
I bid, and my brother was on season 1. He was one of the cronies that was on it. He wasn't one of the main characters. So then when I got done playing football one year, I came into town, and he said, "Hey, there's this show shooting called Storage Wars, and if you want to be on it, I can get you on the show." And I says, "Well, what the hell would I do? You know, I got a face for radio." So he said, "Well, I can get you on the show." So I was on a couple of episodes. The first episode, I forget what season it was, maybe 6, and it was called Hook, Line, and Sucker. I'll never forget. And then it came out, and I had done stuff with football, playing college ball or pro ball that nobody ever knew about. And I was on that show, and I was getting calls my parents were getting calls at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because they ran that show like a ton. It was ran continuously for quite some period of time. And so it got me a lot of press. And here we go. I've got it right here. So that is, there we go. See the bidding in the corner? You know, there's the guy, there's me right there next to him. And that's the guy that's going, yep. You know, and so I took a couple of pictures of it. We were in 2 seasons. My brother was in it. It was kind of fun, but I learned that industry out there real quick. That show led me to, they tried me out for, I don't want to say tried out, it's a football term, but real quick, and then I'm done. One more Hollywood story because you're out there. My brother calls me and he says, "Hey, Jim, they're looking for people for this movie. And I think you'd be perfect for this movie." So it's extra work, but it could be, you could get scale. It could pay $300 a day, but you could be on this for 60 days. This movie's going to be huge. I don't know shit about movies other than watching them. So I go and I meet and audition for it, and they're pulling me to the side and they're saying, "This guy's perfect. And this guy's going to do all this." And my brother, who's been in the industry at this time, he wasn't as big as he is now, is looking at me like, "You son of a bitch, you're here 30 minutes and you're going to get a part in this movie. And I've been trying to break into this movie." And they're pulling me over here and they're putting me in a wardrobe. And it was a movie that was going to be about slaves that Oprah Winfrey was dealing with, right? She was producing the movie. It was called something Slaves. It won all kind of awards and shit. So they're pulling me all around, and I'm looking at them, and I'm saying, well, you know, now I'm getting a big head about myself. So then I ask somebody, I says, "Why me? I have no acting ability. I've never done anything like this." They go, "Hey, you're the only guy trying out for this role, which is based during slave times, that doesn't have fucking tattoos. You're the only guy that doesn't have a beer can on the side of his neck that we have to cover. So as far as being in this movie, you're perfect because we don't have to cover up a bunch of bad tattoos all over you to be in the movie." And I looked at this and I says, "Nobody is going to see this movie. This is not worth the time. I'm never going to be in this movie. It's bullshit." So I went home. I left them high and dry as an extra. The movie won like 10 Academy Awards. The one that Oprah did with the slaves and all that stuff. So I was going to be one of the guys that when the slaves came off the ship holding a bullwhip. But because I didn't have any tattoos, they thought I'd be perfect for the period piece. So that was my only brush with LA, and it made me sick real quick.
Wow, I bet you're
could have gotten
that.
free haircuts out of it.
Yeah. And what does this say? I've seen him on Storage Wars. Oh my God, it looks so familiar. It's been driving me nuts. Yeah, if she saw me on Storage Wars, she had to be a big fan because you really had to look quick. Even my own mother didn't realize that was me. Yeah. But guys, listen, I appreciate everything you've done with, you know, all due respect to everybody out there. Hopefully they take me with a grain of salt. We are going to find this girl sooner or later. I have a very good feeling about this. And because of your show being able to come on here and give me a place to vent and get out the real answers to some of the real questions that are out there. Listen, guys, I don't know it all, you know, and it's very possible that somebody else will find her and that this will be over with. But sometimes as a private investigator, you give the family relief too. They have somebody to call. You can't get a hold of a detective tomorrow, so they can call me. You can't necessarily vent to somebody. So as a private investigator, you handle a lot of different chores, and some people just aren't used to doing that, and they don't realize that it's not really what you see on television.
Well, thank you for coming on. Yeah, I hope we get some news soon, but
yeah. Thanks for coming on and sharing the info with us and getting Michaela's story out again. And
yeah, even the dogs are sick of me. Guys, have a great holiday. Take care. Thank you for everything. And my phone number's here, 813-993-2242. I own a company called Gulf Coast Investigation. And that's not Gulf like the Tiger Woods. That's the Gulf of Mexico. And I've owned the business there for a few years, and you can reach me at any time, day or night. My phone is on 24/7. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jim, thank you.
God bless, guys. Be good.
God bless. Yep. So, wow. Yep. Cool. Oh, wait. He's okay. I thought it was going to be like stuck, but so we got some names. I'm going to look into some of these names that he gave us just out of curiosity, just to see. I'm going to listen to some of Big Yo, or no, it's Money Bag Yo music. So
Sorry.
all right, guys. Well, that was fun. I mean, not fun, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to think. I really don't know what to bet on it. Like what to think. Like I feel like I'm 50-50 on like if I think that she's still out there just hiding out or if something happened to her. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm right in the middle right now, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, I'll keep you guys updated if I hear anything. Hopefully if Jim hears anything and he's able to tell me. I don't know, if there's an investigation, he might not be able to share certain things, but I don't know. Bella, do you have anything to end with?
We're going to do prayers for Michaela's family, Michaela and Michaela's family tonight. And you guys have a really amazing Thanksgiving. Thank you for being here with us. I don't know, are you going to be doing a live tomorrow?
No, not on Thanksgiving. No, I'm just going to hang out with the family and stuff. Yeah, Thanksgiving, everybody. Have a good Thanksgiving. Just
if you're
eat a lot of
in
food
the States. And if
yeah,
you're not in the
that's true.
States.
That's true. I always forget that.
I always forget too. Us US people just think the world revolves around us.
I forget. Yeah, but it's just, you just forget. But
we just forget.
Just eat a lot of good food and spend a lot of good quality time with your family because you just never know, So, but yeah, I'll probably maybe this week because today's what? So tomorrow's Thursday, right? Yeah, I'll probably do a live this weekend, guys. So we will chat. Thanks for being so cool and chat and what a great guest, Evan, Bella. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, thanks, KLM. Thank you so much.
Happy Thanksgiving.
And yeah.
But you're not here. KLM, happy, I don't know, non-American Thanksgiving. Pray for us. I'm going to be doing family squabbles tomorrow. Are my sisters
why'd I
listening?
take that down? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm hoping my sisters aren't listening. We're going to be doing squabbles tomorrow. Eating a lot of good food.
Oh.
Fighting.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe not.
We won't. We won't. I'm just kidding, guys.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Zap.